ambush.
How many did you save?
Just like a dream.
You did the only thing you could do. And you lost.
Like a dream.
Look, we're still in this thing.
The day you walked away.
But we have no idea what we're dealing with.
Unfortunate.
Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Boyd, we're out of food.
Too many things are changing. Yeah. I have to remember.
The game here is rigged. Why can't they leave us alone?
No matter what this place throws at us, we're gonna find our way home. Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here. Hello?
Like a dream.
You looking for these?
Into my life.
You can't save them all.
But things are really how they seem.
Everything's a system. Everything's connected. Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Fuck my life!
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome one, welcome all. We are inching closer and closer to the From Season 3 premiere. September 22nd, ladies and gents, just around the corner now. I cannot wait. I know you guys are just as excited for this upcoming season, especially given all of the very interesting and kind of juicy information we have been given from the writers and creators leading up to Season 3. It looks like we are finally going to enter the season of answers and explanation and finally seeing what the quote-unquote true nature of the town really is. So I am pumped. I cannot wait. The first two seasons were shrouded in nothing but mystery, and it looks like in Season 3 we are diving into that mystery and advancing the plot a little bit more. So I am super excited for this third season and really looking forward to seeing what answers they're going to give us in Season 3. I know they're probably not going to give us everything, of course, but it looks like we are going to be getting some answers. And we do have the episode titles as well for Season 3. We're going to take another look at those and see what we can see. Aldous, welcome.
Yeah, man. Good to be back. The just excited. 10 episodes, man. Thank God.
I love
10
it.
episodes.
Thank God, yes. And that was a little bit of a worry too. I mean, you know, coming off a writer strike. I mean, I know you and I remember clear as day the previous writer strike that happened in the early 2000s, and it really kind of hurt a lot of shows returning, like Heroes, among many others. They returned to very shortened seasons. Like studios just wanted to get something out and get it out as fast as they could. So I was a little bit worried coming off of the strike this time. Will we see some kind of shorter, condensed seasons just so networks can kind of get things out faster? But I'm so excited that From is maintaining their 10 episode format, and it's very exciting. And anything less than 10 would have been not disappointing, but not as fun, I guess.
Yeah,
Not
well, and
as
you
fun.
mentioned Heroes. Heroes is a great example, man, because that first season was so hot. It was fire.
So good.
It amped up every episode. More and more people were watching it. It had that early water cooler thing. People were talking about it everywhere. And then the writer's strike happens and season 2 drops, and that show died so fast.
It
It
did.
just killed it.
fell
It
off.
killed, in addition to the quality of season 2 and it's not being good, it was all the storylines just kind of they slammed them together so that they could fit it in just to release it. And that's what you don't want. It's a perfect example of what you don't want. And it looks like
Yeah.
that's not the case here because we're getting 10 episodes. So again, it showed they're doing all the right things. And that's all you can hope for before the season drops.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and you always kind of, whenever I'm looking into a series, I always try to look for, the red flags. Like, am I seeing any kind of red flags that are coming from this production? Which, of course, we did unfortunately see a few in the House of the Dragon production, which came to fruition during the season. But one thing about From is it seems like they have the best and most creative people in the right places to really make this show run as smoothly as it has. And very skilled people as well. I mean, the writing on From, the visual effects department, the world building, everybody is working in unison to make this show as great as they possibly can, it seems. And I love it. I just feel like they have all the right pieces in the right place to make this show a real success. And I think we're going to see that continue in season 3. But we have a new member of the channel. What is up, Papa Socks? A new member of the channel. Wow! Thank you so much for becoming a member. And of course, for anyone who is a member of the channel, you have access to our custom Fromville emojis. And now that From season 3 is right around the corner, I should probably replace a few of these House of the Dragon emojis with some new From emojis, which I am going to do. And again, I know I asked last week, but I totally forgot to reinforce it. After this stream ends, in the comment section, if there are any specific From season 3 emojis that you guys want me to make, drop it in the comment section after the stream. I will take a look, and I will take some of these suggestions, and I will make custom From emojis out of them. But yeah, thank you so much for becoming a member, my friend. Thank you so much for becoming a member, and welcome to the Fromily. Welcome to the Fromily. And it's been so awesome to see the From fandom kind of grow as a whole since season 1. I mean, we look back when season 1 was first starting. It felt like this fandom was so small that I was kind of worried for the show's longevity. I thought, please don't tell me a show this good is not going to get the proper amount of seasons that it really needs to tell the story. Not because it's not good and not enough people are watching it, simply because not enough people even knew about it to watch it in the beginning, because it was on such a small streaming service and such a small network, Epix, which is now MGM Plus. But then we saw a nice little surge, a pretty decent surge in between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. It seems like a lot of people started to find the show in between those first 2 seasons. And it seems like it's only even grown more since season 2 has aired. And now that we're on the cusp of season 3, they're hitting up New York Comic Con, they're hitting up San Diego Comic Con. It's on multiple other streaming services now, which was a big complaint we got during season 2, actually. A lot of people that lived in the UK, depending on where you lived in the UK, you didn't have access to MGM Plus. So not everybody had the chance to even watch it during season 2, that if you lived abroad. And now it seems like wherever you live, MGM Plus or a streaming service that carries From is made available now. I know it's on Netflix in the UK, which is awesome. I'm sure it's pulling in a ton of new fans that way. But it's just great to see this show grow. It would have been a tragic shame if this would have been a Raised by Wolves or Carnival repeat, where we get 2 good seasons and then it gets canceled.
Well, we knew
I'm
that
glad
wasn't
that
going to happen because it wasn't on HBO. But Glue guns and roses in the chat is the first one I saw that had a recommendation, and it's the best one I've seen yet for an emoji ever, and that is Christy's haircut.
Yes. Okay. All right. I can find a Christie's haircut emoji. I mean, that was so hilarious when it seemed like, and I remember when we went live, I was like super nervous to kind of mention the haircut. I didn't know how it was going to be received. And I was just so relieved when I saw so many people in the chat thought the exact same thing, that the haircut was just pure butchery. Because I was a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh, am I going to diss the haircut and people are going to, take it the wrong way? Because it's all just meant in good fun, of course. But yeah, I was very relieved when a good portion of the chat also agreed that the haircut was butchery. Butchery. But no, that
Yeah.
is a good suggestion. That is a very good suggestion. If I can find a good Christie's hair emoji, I will definitely upload it. And speaking of the awesome chat, let's see who we have in here this evening. All of you fine, awesome folks of the Fromily. Hope you guys are ready and gearing up for season 3. Let's go, says Big Dago. Hell yes. Is it September 23rd yet? Ooh, 22nd. Yes, September 22nd. There it is. It's coming. It is coming. It is getting closer and closer. We are officially less than 1 month away. And it's coming, folks. It is coming. This Sunday, actually, tomorrow, we are starting our Season 2 watch party in the Discord. So if anyone hasn't joined the Discord yet or wants to come and hang out with us for our Season 2 watch party, we're going to be starting tomorrow night with the very first episode in the Discord live at 10 p.m. Eastern, 10 or 9 p.m. Eastern. I believe 9 or 10 p.m. Eastern, one of those times. But yeah, we are going to dive in and do a season 2 rewatch in the Discord for anyone who wants to catch up and refresh, or just come and hang out and talk about the show. Everybody is welcome. We got Kiwi Skirt in the house. What is up, Kiwi? Good to see you, my friend, the mod extraordinaire, killing it with the links. Thank you so much, Kiwi. We got Greek Girl in the house. What is up, Greek Girl? Good to see you as well. We got Margie M in the building. It can't come soon enough. I know, right? It cannot come soon enough. It cannot come soon enough. Hell yes. Hell yes. We got Papa in the house, Papa Socks. What is up, Papa Socks, which is one of our newest members. Good to have you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. I hope you and everybody else is having a phenomenal start to your weekend. And as Katie Jo says, a happy Saturday to all. Hell yes. Hell yes, Katie Jo. A happy Saturday to you as well, and to everybody in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Hope everyone's having a good weekend. We got Robert Saunders in the house. What is up, Robert? Always good to see you, my friend. Welcome, welcome. I see Laura Butler in the building as well. What is up, Laura? I see Bitey is in the house. What is up, Bitey? I get the feeling I'm going to see a lot of Bitey action in season 3 of From, as the monsters come back with a vengeance by the look of it. And that's something I know that a lot of us are very much looking forward to, for the monsters to really come back in a big way. Not that they really went, not they really disappeared or anything like that, but towards the back half, the second half of season 2, the monsters definitely became a little bit less prevalent, as the forefront was, as the cicada entity kind of came into the forefront, which is understandable. Whenever you're introducing a new kind of antagonist or a new problem for a series to dive into, you're going to have to make that the priority. But I'm really looking forward to season 3, just based on some of the trailers and some of the things, some of the footage that we've seen. It looks like the monsters are going to be heavy, some heavy monster action in season 3, it looks like. And I am all for it. Make the monsters scary again. Not that they were never scary, to be honest. They're always scary. But when I look back at the 2 seasons of From, I love them both. But season 1, I like it a little bit better because it's just so much scarier. It has that scare factor dialed up to 10 on that first season. It's a new show. It's something we didn't quite know about. We're seeing these new monsters that we haven't seen before. And just the overall tone of that first season was super scary. Not that 2 wasn't, but 1 was scarier, I thought.
One is Jaws, right? You don't see you see the
Yes.
monster, but you don't know what the monster is in that case.
Yes.
2, we explored the monsters a little bit, and anytime you do that, it takes the mystique away. It's still terrifying, but when you lose that sense of mystery, it's just it takes something away.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. I definitely see what you mean. It's yeah. Like you said, it was the unknown in that first season. We hadn't seen these things before. It was a whole new terror, a whole new threat, a whole new world that we were getting used to, and it's something that you can kind of just fully immerse yourself in, and that's what's great about the season, about the series as a whole. The first 10 minutes of the very first episode pulls you right in, and it just does not let up off the gas from that point forward. So yeah, season one is great. Season two is great as well, but season one is definitely my favorite. But I have a feeling season three might rival them both based on some of the things that we have coming on the horizon in terms of the monster action, in terms of us finally getting some definitive answers and opening up this narrative and advancing this plot a little bit more than we have during the first two seasons, which is very exciting. I know a lot of people really want some answers, and it looks like we have some coming. Looks like we have some answers coming. We got Julie Barbara in the house. What is up, Julie Barbara? Awesome to see you. Julie has been an awesome new member of the Fromily, been killing it both here in on the channel and in the Discord. Put together some very interesting Batman-like level detective style work that Aldous would very much appreciate, being a comic book aficionado. Julie put
Nice.
together some very interesting details from the latest From season 3 trailer, kind of pointing with very good evidence backing it up, that not only is Tabitha in Camden, Maine, which a lot of us were kind of thinking could have been the possibility as well, but she took it one step further and even kind of analyzed the new cop character that we're going to be getting in season 2, the cop named Acosta, and her emblem on her arm seems to look an awful lot like the same emblem from the Camden, Maine Police Department. And we also see that the ambulance is from Knox County, which is also in Camden, Maine, or there is a Knox County in Camden, Maine. There's multiple Knox counties, but there just so happens to be one in Camden, Maine as well.
Ah.
So I gotta hand it to you, to Julie and everyone else who was a part of that in the Discord. You guys put together some top level Batman detective level stuff, and you got me convinced. You
That's
got me
awesome,
convinced.
man. Yeah, I've been so damn busy the last 6 months, and it's not an excuse, but I need to hop back in the Discord and reorient myself with where, especially since we're right on the cusp of season 3 coming out. But
Mm.
yeah, I got to get in there. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, now's the time. Now is definitely the time. Things are heating up in there, and again, I can't thank everybody enough for what you guys have created in that Discord. It's so welcoming. Whether you've been there since day one or whether you're just popping in, you feel like you've been there forever. Everybody's incredibly welcoming when someone new pops into the Discord, and that's one of the vibes we always wanted to put forward. We want everybody to feel welcome, whether it's your first time in the chat or you've been here since day one. Everybody is Fromily, as far as I'm concerned, and very much welcome here. But yeah, you guys have created a very interesting Discord there. And I must say, probably and I saw someone comment this on one of my recent videos, and I do kind of agree. The Discord, the Fromville Discord, has become probably one of the biggest concentrations of fan theories in the entire From fandom. Like you look at the From fandom, the Reddit, some of the bigger Facebook groups, and you look at our Discord, we have probably one of the biggest collections of From fan theories right there in the Discord, and that is all a testament to each and every one of you in the chat and in the Discord. I had absolutely nothing to do with that. You guys have been growing that thing. You guys have been diving into it, just putting theory after theory, really putting out some insanely very detailed theories in some cases too, that really have me even kind of questioning some of the theories I had about the show at times. So yeah, I cannot be more grateful to everybody who has made that Discord what it's kind of turning into. It's really becoming a big kind of hub for From fan theories, and that's so awesome. Love
Yeah.
seeing that.
It is. It's awesome. And dude, I've been doing this with you now for what, almost 4 years. I got to tell everybody here, Jeremy is like the most humble guy. Like he pulled all this together. He's the one that was in the back room screaming at Snugs and I to watch this damn show when season 1 was just starting. He gets the credit for what he's put together here, and it's absolutely fantastic. So make sure you thank him. He's done a great job, and he just needs to learn to accept the credit and move past it. But
Well, I appreciate that. I do appreciate that, but it's the people in the chat who deserve the real credit, in my opinion. You guys have grown this community and made it the welcoming place that it has become. So I very much appreciate that, but I appreciate that as well. All this, thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend.
of course.
We got SL Rhodes in the house as well. What is up, SL Rhodes? Good to see you as well, my friend. Let me scroll down a little bit more, see who else I can see. See Michael DJ in the house. What is up, Michael DJ? Is Ethan sad? Is Ethan sad standing there? Sad because he got Julie killed when he let Granny Monster in? Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely one of the bigger scenes from the trailer that we have kind of been noticing. We see Ethan just outright open this door in the middle of the night and letting the granny monster in, which have led a lot of us to ask what the heck is going on in that scene. Now, for me, I kind of always thought that maybe the granny monster was maybe imitating Tabitha's voice and kind of tricked Ethan to open the door. Because at this point in time, yes, Ethan's a kid, but he's old enough to understand the danger that he is in. He's at least old enough to understand what this place is. And he even says so much to kind of, towards season 2 as well, where he says, I know this place isn't a fairy tale. I know it's dangerous. So he is very much aware of the danger that he's in. So for him to just open this door without a care in the world, without even looking outside, and knowing that his mother is gone, I wouldn't be too surprised if Granny Monster was kind of imitating Tabitha's voice here in that scene, and that's why he rushes to the door and opens it without a second thought, because he thinks it's his lost mother returning. But yeah, why is he opening the door? I don't know. If it's not that, I guess we will find out. I guess we shall find out. That's an interesting scene. Very interesting scene indeed. Indeed. We got Vanessa Wicked in the house. What is up, Vanessa Wicked? Good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Gardenia in the house. What is up, Gardenia? Awesome to see you as well, my friend. We got Doc Hayes in the building. What is up, Doc Hayes? We got the Movie Guru in the house as well. What is up, Movie Guru? Save the children, save the town. Yeah, a little heroes callback. Save the cheerleader, save the world. And it really, I mean, how good was that show during season 1? That save the cheerleader, save the world thing, that freaking phrase was everywhere back then. And it's a shame to see where that show ended up, considering how great it started.
Did you hear the latest on that? And this goes a little bit to the creative bankruptcy of network television. They're planning on possibly bringing Heroes back. And they're going to do a soft reboot of it that still pays attention to the main timeline, but reboots it in a way. Read 2 articles about it this week. One was in Variety, I think. But yeah, it's disappointing because you got great shows like From, right? You got good shows like House of the Dragon, obviously based off of an existing IP, but done exceptionally well. Some missteps in season 2, as I was clear to say. But then you got shows like From that are original. They've got some ties into a couple pieces of literature that, the more astute among us have drawn. But there's original ideas out there. And instead of doing that, we're going to throw the old grappling hook back a decade and see what we can catch. And they caught Heroes. So it's just kind of bummed. But yeah, I don't want to dwell too much on it, but it is out there. So I thought we'd mention it.
No, that's funny, man. It is funny. And like you said, it definitely seems like we are living in the age of the reboot and the remake. And yeah, it speaks to a little bit of the kind of creative bankruptcy that we have seen in Hollywood over the past, 5 years to a decade or so. So when a new and original story like this, like From, comes around, it's that much more special. I don't know if it's the saltine cracker, effect, or if it's just because this show is that much better than everything else that is kind of on TV right now. But it's just so refreshing to see that there are still good, new, original stories out there to be discovered and that fans can get into. Because yeah, like I said, when you're living in the age of the reboot, a show like From that is just completely new and original, it stands ahead of the pack. At least for me, anyway. Like it's certainly my favorite show that is currently on right now. And yeah, I love having something to dive into where there's no source material to go and read and find out all the answers and things like that. It's just a completely new story that we're all trying to figure out the mysteries of it together as we go. And that's what puts From ahead of the pack for me, from
Absolutely.
most shows. Great series, and I cannot wait to dive into season 3. But yeah, the children are the way out. The children could potentially be the way out, and it's very interesting to see what was happening to those children in that scene that Jade sees, that vision that Jade sees, where we see the Ankui children in some very weird, almost ritualistic style circle on these almost rock-like altars. What exactly is going on there? We see the symbol kind of manifest above them. Are they opening some kind of doorway? Could the children potentially be the way out? At least Tabitha, or at least Victor's mother, was certainly under the assumption that to get out, she had to save the children. So it seems like the children might be tied in some way, shape, or form to some form of exit, maybe. So I guess we'll learn a little bit more about that. Hopefully, when we learn a little bit more about these dang on Kui children. The hell is up with these dang on Kui children? It's still a big mystery. Still a big mystery. But maybe we will learn a little bit more in season 3. We got
Yeah.
Illegal Mods in the house as well. What is up, Illegal Mods? What is up, Nikki as well? Welcome. And welcome everybody. If I missed anybody, I am terribly sorry. I try to catch as many as possible. I do see BK there as well. I see Grumbledore down there as well. Yeah, Heroes is done and dusted. Was good for 3 seasons, and that was it. And honestly, I love seasons 1 and 2 of Heroes. Season 3 for me is when it started to kind of fall off a little bit. But it's a shame because that show did really start with a lot of potential. Like a lot of potential Heroes had at first, and the writer's strike really hurt that show.
For sure.
Really hurt that show.
Well, it shows you what happened. Like all these, and I don't want to, again, we talked about this a lot during the strike, but so many of these writers are so hyper focused on things that don't factor into them and that don't matter. And what they end up doing is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So they struck back then and they had a bunch of people on a bunch of hit shows, but when you don't have new things, people go and find new avenues of entertainment. So what did people do back then? That's the first time you saw a boom in streaming, is during that first writer's strike. People were turning to Netflix. And now what happens? We get another strike, and now what's happened? People are turning away. Again, networks, they got nothing coming. They're doing the reality show and game show thing again.
Yeah.
So the writers they don't need writers for that. So I understand the essence of it, but it's every decade it seems we seem to see the pattern repeat, and it's just you shake your head and go, I don't get it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to see kind of the decline as a whole, not just in TV, but the film industry as well. It has kind of sort of been on the decline as a whole over the last 5-10 years or so, just in terms of pure kind of creativity and having really awesome, good new stories that aren't a retelling or a reboot or an adaptation of source material, something that is just truly outside the box, new, original, that works. And again, that's why I try to champion this show as much as I possibly can, because it's so refreshing to see that there are still writers out there that want to put out a good new original story that isn't tied to anything that has come before it, and just have a nice mystery with awesome characters and an incredibly rich world and setting that it's set in for people to dive into.
Right.
And
Well, I think
From's doing
that's the key part right there, man, that you just said. It's interesting characters.
Yeah.
And I've seen people out there that are like, "Oh, it's woke, man. There's this person there and there's this person." Like, yeah, but you know what? That's life. There's always a little bit. It's not fully dominated by it. You've got an engineer, you've got a programmer, you've got a former military guy. Like, it's a good cross section there of characters. It doesn't feel like it's all from one side of the fence or the other. It doesn't feel like they don't all look like they live in California. it's not just central casting 101. They all look like you just grabbed randomly a bunch of people from across the country. And that's the way shows
Yeah.
should be. It
Mhm.
should have a wide cross section. It shouldn't look like everybody's from California or New York. And that they accomplished it so well here. And then to have the writers double down on that and make the characters just as nuanced as they look, well, that's all you
Yeah.
need to do, man. And like you said, it might be the Saltine theory. This show might be absolute garbage. And it's just because it's the best thing in the punch bowl that we're looking at it. But I don't think so. I think it's something pretty
I don't think
special, and
so.
I'm looking forward to 3.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I really feel like they have something special here in terms of a very unique and original idea. But on top of it, there's one thing to have a very good original, good idea and a good concept, but you have to execute that concept. And that's sometimes where we see projects kind of falter a little bit because I've seen so many shows and movies out there that have some of the most interesting concepts I've ever heard. But then when you actually get into watching the show, it's like, okay, this was not executed as well as it possibly could have been given the concept. But I feel like, yeah, I feel like they have something special here because it's not only a very unique and interesting concept, but they're executing it to perfection. And like you mentioned, the characters, the cast. We look at this cast on From, and it's probably the best ensemble cast I've seen since Lost. And like you said, there's a little bit of everything. It really feels like they just clicked out, a bunch of places off the map, threw some people into this kind of melting plot, and see what would happen to humans under these incredibly strenuous environment and situation. And it's just it's a show that you can kind of relate to a little bit more because you see these characters and you see their faults, their flaws, and them how they're dealing with this new world and this new reality that they find themselves in. It really is a testament to the human spirit too. At the end of the day, what humans can accomplish when they put their minds to it, because humans, we are capable of great feats, but we've also seen on this show that they showcase the opposite side to that as well, where sometimes when humans are afraid, they make very dangerous and stupid decisions, which we saw in season 2 when the food shortage was starting to get a little worse. And good old Dale's waving his knife around, stabbing people in the gut because he's so afraid about the food shortage. So that's what I love about From. It showcases the very best of humanity coming together in the face of just sheer adversity, but it also shows that darker side of humanity as well, and some of the stupid decisions we make when we are afraid, because we are only human at the end of the day. Every human feels
Absolutely.
fear. But so that's what I love about From. I love the contrast of really showing both sides of the human condition, the good side, the side that can kind of rise above adversity, come together with your fellow man and face the challenges ahead, and the other side that kind of breaks down under the face of adversity and kind of crumbles. So it's just a great contrast, and it really does showcase, again, the best and worst of humanity, really. So yeah, I just love it. I love the themes that they are playing with From. They are, the overall main narrative is incredibly interesting, finding out what the heck this weird town is, why they got brought here, who specifically brought them here, what else is out there, what is the main antagonist, how do they eventually get out. Those are all great things to anchor the show around. But it's the little things, like you said, the nuanced things that can sometimes be even more fun than the main mysteries and main overall plot points. Just peeling back the layers on these characters a little bit more, seeing what makes this character tick, what gives this character their motivation for getting up out of bed every day, why is this person continuing. And again, that's where From kind of shines for me, because it really showcases humanity in a very unique way. A very unique way.
Right.
Has anyone read the book Wolf's Hour by Robert McCommon? I have not myself. I have not
I'm not
read
familiar with.
Wolf's Hour.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with McCammon stuff.
Yeah, I'm not either. I'm not familiar, but I will definitely add it to my list. Again, I'm always looking for great new books and new series to dive into. So I will. I'll make a mental note of that one, Wolf's Hour. Yeah, I'll check it out. I will check it out. Um, It's like that 90s show reboots just don't work, Battlestar Galactica being the exception. Yeah, they just don't always work. I mean, sometimes they do. Sometimes you'll have a reboot come around and it'll be just as great or sometimes even better than the original. But for me, I always prefer a nice, brand spanking new original story that isn't based on anything. That's just a totally new mystery to dive into. And again, I think that's why I really gravitate towards From so much.
Right.
Could be a
Well,
very
even the
long eclipse.
man, even the
Sorry, go ahead.
Battlestar thing. When Battlestar, when that first miniseries dropped on Sci-Fi, man, I was there for it. There were a lot of pissed off people because they changed the story and Starbuck was a chick and they changed how this works, and they significantly played with that, and the series ended up being really good, but there was a lot of outcry initially for that because of everything that had happened before that. So it's, you never know, man. Sometimes you just got to let something simmer, and other times right away that it's going to be bad. The Acolyte coming to mind. That was
Mhm.
just bad right out of the gate, and there was no saving it. So,
Yeah, and that's the
it,
thing with series. Sometimes you watch one episode and
and you
and you
just
think you
know.
might have an idea. Well, sometimes you just know, but sometimes you don't though. Sometimes you think you know, and because that's happened to me so many times as well, where I've watched one episode of a show and I thought the show just isn't for me, and I kind of write it off, and then I'll return to it like a few months later and actually watch like the first three, and then I'll realize, okay, just this show took a little bit longer to get going, but I'm actually kind of into it now. That's why I always try to recommend to people when you are watching or feeling out a new series, try to at least watch the first two or three episodes so you can get the real feel of what this thing's really about. Because I'm the
Oh
same
yeah,
way.
for
Sometimes
sure.
I watch one episode and I'll just kind of give up. But
But
you
to be
really,
fair though, man, there is nothing. There is no signal flare worse to, at least to me, to avoid a series. With the way streaming works, you want anticipation to be built up. So any show, like ideally drop 1 and 2 episodes to open it up, and then one a week. If you're doing like 3 or 4 episode drops, that's desperation time. They're trying to artificially build hype. And the Periphery did that on Amazon. They like really front end loaded that. It was okay. It was a bad adaptation, but it was an okay series. And there's been a couple other ones where they just really heavily front loaded it and they dropped like 3 or 4 episodes. And that's always a red flag because it's just, they're trying to force feed people into it. Normally, I do agree with you, though. I think you got to watch 2 or 3 to really get a feel for it and see if it's for you or not.
yeah, see if it's for you or not. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, that's why I mean, From I feel like is in a different category. I feel like a lot of us, at least most of us, when you watch From, you can tell within the first 10 minutes if you're gonna like the show or not because it showcases how far it's willing to go within those first 10 minutes when you see the tragic death of poor Megan and her mother in a very, tragic circumstance as well. Then you slowly start to learn a little bit more about this town and how things operate in this town and the threats that they are under. And I just got instantly hooked and hooked and hooked deeper and deeper and deeper the more I was watching that first episode. So it pulled me right in from the beginning. Glue Guns and Roses says, so true. I swear, whoever wrote Donna based her on their real life aunt that lives in the Midwest. They might have. They might have. That one Midwestern aunt that's the gun toting, hunting, whiskey drinking, cool kick ass aunt.
Right, the one
Yeah,
that
that's Donna.
knows, the one that makes a good meat pasty. That's the one she's talking about right there.
There you go. There you go. Colin says simulated reality. A lot of subtle clues like the breadcrumbs spread across the seasons. Yeah, the simulation theory has been a pretty prominent theory since very early on, and for me personally, it's not my It's not my most favorite theory. I'm not a huge fan of the simulation. Just for me, 1899 when we got that big reveal at the end of 1899, that kind of ruined the show for me because it kind of boiled all of this weird, mystical, magical, kind of weird, trippy stuff that was happening. It boiled it all down to one computer algorithm controlling everything. And that kind of loses a little bit of the magic, just for me personally. But the simulation theory has been very popular and for good reason. Like you mentioned, there has been a lot of kind of weird winks and nods that could point to this potentially being some sort of simulated reality. There's a lot of weird, trippy things going going on here that are not quite explained. The electricity is a very good example of that. Like, you have no idea how this electricity works, where it's even coming from. A simulated reality could be a perfect explanation to at least explain the electricity and some other kind of weird phenomenon like that. So yeah, I totally understand why the sim theory has kind of become a very popular one within the fandom, because there are some things that point to this potentially having some sort of simulated world. And then you throw Jade into the equation, and what we know about his background in terms of him being like a tech genius who sold a computer quantum algorithm that for an obscene amount of money. A lot of people seem to think that maybe Jade's technology has something to do with this simulated world. Maybe Jade's technology powers or is an algorithm managing this simulated world, which it's an interesting theory. If they do go the simulation route, I just hope it's something I haven't seen before. And that's one of the reasons why I've been a little hesitant to hope that it's aliens as well. Just because I feel like we've seen the whole alien trope be done time and time again. And it's been done so many times that it almost has become kind of a cliche in and of itself. But if it is aliens and it's a new take on aliens and it's something that I've never seen before, I will be so happy with that. I just want this reveal, whatever this town is, I want it to be something that none of us saw coming. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to have at this point, considering all of the incredibly good fan theories that have been popping up since very early on in season 1. I have to imagine at this point, at least somebody has guessed right in terms of what this town really is. But a small part of me just really hopes when we do get that reveal, it's something that none of us thought of. I just feel like that would be such an awesome reveal if it's, just something nobody even could have even imagined. But if they do go the alien route or the simulation route, I just hope it's a version of that I haven't seen before.
Right.
Make it unique. Like a brand spanking new take on simulation. That would be pretty interesting. Or a brand new fresh take on aliens. That could be pretty interesting as well. But for me, I'm hoping it kind of lies a little bit more in the kind of mystical, magical type realm in terms of some of these explanations, like the monsters, the talismans, and some of the weird magical elements of the show. I'm hoping it has a little bit more of a supernatural explanation.
Man, I do too, but my hope is that the supernatural is in faith. Just because that Jim and Tabitha are such a central part, and so much of their marriage falling apart was because they lost their son. And if somehow faith at the end brings everybody together, I think that'd be pretty beautiful. But that's me. So
it could be very interesting. And it's funny that you mentioned faith, because that actually kind of ties into some of the episode titles that have been leaked. We talked about this on a previous stream, but if anyone maybe didn't see it or wants to kind of refresh, from season 3 has released the episode titles for the upcoming 3rd season. And we got 10 episodes to look forward to, but some of the episode titles kind of really stood out to me. In particular, the final 3. When we get to episode 8, 9, and 10, we have Revelations Chapter 1, Revelations Chapter 2, and Revelations Chapter 2 again. I don't know if that's meant to be Chapter 3, if it's a typo, or if 9 and 10 are a Part 1, Part 2 kind of deal. But it seems like Revelations are going to play some kind of big part in the season finale of season 3 of From. And when I saw this, it instantly made me think of that Father Cautry theory, that in season 1, when he has Sarah tied up in the basement, he reveals his theory to her that he believes that there's, he's wondering why there's no Bibles in From. And that's one thing we've, a lot of us have wondered. There's all kinds of weird stuff in this town of Fromville, but not a single Bible anywhere. You mean to tell me out of all of the people that have been trapped here over however many decades or centuries this place has been around, not one person was traveling with a Bible on them?
Right.
And then Father Cautry starts to think that maybe they are living the 74th book of Revelations, that the events that they are currently living in this town, they are actually comprising the 74th book of Revelations, is what he thought. So then when I see the Revelations chapter title, episode title, I thought, could they be tying this in some sort of way to Father Cautry's theory? Or could Revelations just be the title because we're going to get a big reveal at the end of season 3? Or is it a dual meaning, maybe?
Right.
But the revelations I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I think the last two are going to be. I think it's going to be a two-parter. Just based off how it's set up and the fact we've got 10 and we kind of know their pacing style. I think it's going to be a two-parter. You're going to get a nice setup. 10's going to close it out, and then you're going to get a twist at the very end, just like we have in season 2. So.
I think so. I mean, the show has definitely had a pretty similar format for both of their season finales, where season 1 and season 2 both end on massive cliffhangers, with season 1, of course, ending with Boyd being trapped in that weird shaft and us waiting a whole fucking year to figure out what the hell's going to happen. And then, of course, with season 2 as well, with Tabitha going out of the lighthouse and waking up mysteriously in some hospital bed, and us waiting damn near a year and a half to find out what's going on there, thanks to the strike. So they have been kind of setting up that theme where I wouldn't be surprised at this point if every season ends on a similar cliffhanger like that. But hopefully we get some kind of big reveal before that cliffhanger comes around. Because when I see revelations, those are the two things that came to mind for me, at least. The Father Cautry theory that he kind of drops in season 1, or potentially we're just going to get some kind of massive reveal in one of these 3 episodes. And I'm cool with either. I am cool with either. We also have a synopsis of season 3. Now, we have some of the episode titles, of course, but we don't have the individual synopsis of each individual episode. That would be a little bit too spoilery to release right now if they were giving us descriptions of every episode. People could look right ahead to the 10th episode and it really would kind of give a lot away in some cases. But we do have an overall description of the season 3 synopsis as a whole. And it reads, "The weather grows colder. Food is scarce, and every day is more difficult than the last. Season 3 begins a host of new terrors and startling revelations, but will the fight for survival force the residents of the town to sacrifice the very humanity that sets them apart from the monsters they fear?" And I love this. I feel like this is foreshadowing and invoking some very interesting things. Now, we know coming into season 3 that the survivors of the town are really going to be up against some very harsh conditions. They have the food shortage coming in. We have this winter moving in. We clearly see snow is starting to fall in Fromville. So it seems like the conditions and just general day-to-day living is going to be incredibly hard in season 3 compared to them during their first 2 seasons. So that last line, them potentially having to sacrifice their humanity just to survive, I cannot wait to find out what exactly that is referring to. What tough choices are the people of Fromville going to be faced with? And how are they going to handle those tough choices? And which route will they ultimately take? Will they hold on to their humanity? Or will they sacrifice a part of their humanity in order to have a better chance of survival? It seems like in season 3 the characters are going to be faced with some very tough choices, at least.
Absolutely. No, and then with winter, I don't know, with winter coming and we were talking about, things that question your humanity, I started thinking Donner Party type shit. Like,
that's what popped up for a lot of people in the chat too. Like, holy shit, are we about to hit cannibal territory? A lot of people were saying that same thing. It's funny that you mentioned that. And who knows? Like, again, the food shortage is very scarce. I mean, could we potentially be heading into Yellow Jackets territory? I don't know. I don't know what they have in store. But yeah, as Daryl Seymour says, winter is coming. Winter is coming. Yeah, I hope they don't eat people. I hope they don't too. I really hope they don't take it there, at least not yet. But I don't know. I feel like this show isn't afraid to throw anything at us, and they're not afraid to go into those areas where maybe some other shows don't really want to go. It seems like From's not afraid to take risks. But yeah, eating people though, it's a big step. That is a big step. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down, I see to think Tabitha originally wasn't meant to be in the real world. Yeah, Tabitha's storyline, I think, is definitely been one of the most highly anticipated heading into season 3 and figuring out exactly what was going on there. Because we talked a little bit about this in the Discord last night. And it's been very kind of interesting to see how the fandom has landed on the whole Tabitha thing. It seems like half of the fandom believes she's in some kind of level 2, quote unquote, place of Fromville, and the other half of the fandom seems to think she is in the real world. And I always thought she was in the real world as well. I just feel like, from a writing standpoint, from a story wise standpoint, having Tabitha in the real world while her family and everyone else is back in Fromville, it just adds a very interesting dynamic to the storytelling of From, where all of a sudden you have these two parallel storylines that are running, side by side from one another, with Tabitha doing everything she can to find out information on Fromville, potentially find a way back into it, while everyone in the town not only tries to figure out what happened to Tabitha, but also trying to survive as this winter and these crazy harsh conditions come around. So part of me just always thought her being in the real world just made more sense from a writing standpoint. But if she is in some level 2 place of Fromville, that could be pretty interesting as well. Don't get me wrong, that could be pretty cool too. But it's been interesting to see the kind of the two different schools of thought, I guess, where where the fandom has landed on some of these things, and that's what's fun about a show like this, where no two people see the same thing exactly the same way, and that's what's so fun about discussing the show with everyone.
Absolutely.
For
No, and
sure.
I'm a little against you there, man. I think that's so obvious that I think that's they're gonna set it up that way, and that's gonna be the turn.
Hmm.
They're gonna sell you
Oh,
on
okay,
that the whole season,
okay.
and at the end, they're gonna twist the
That'll be the
knife.
reveal, maybe the
Yep,
revelations that
the
she's not
door
really in the real world. Okay.
right, it's the proverbial Twilight Zone thing that you don't see coming. That's the heel turn.
Yes.
The camera pans out and everybody has a pig face, but she's hot. That's gonna be the moment.
That would be pretty nutty. That would be pretty nutty, and it would be a pretty cool reveal to kind of, especially if they kind of dragged it out throughout the whole season and then only revealed that at the very end. Like you said, it would make that reveal that much more profound, because like you said, they're setting us up this whole time to believe she is in the real world, and all of a sudden they pull the fucking rug out from underneath us, which could be pretty cool. That could be pretty cool. What anime was that? Jeremy Ice and Fire. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit, probably towards the end of the stream. But just for a quick little preview, the anime pictures that I had here, those are actually from the upcoming Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim anime. They're coming out with an animated movie, a Lord of the Rings animated movie, and these are some of the stills from it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that towards the end of the show, if there are any
Yeah,
Lord
yeah,
of the Rings fans.
for sure.
But yeah,
It's
looking
a
forward
good thing Snugs was out sick today. Let's just say that.
to it. Yes, indeed. Indeed. Let's see what else we got. If they're hungry, you start thinking, yeah, Donner Party scenario.
Exactly, man.
Exactly, right? You know that the food shortage is coming around. And then when you read that synopsis, that you're going to be faced with a question as to whether or not they keep their humanity. Yeah, I totally understand people having that thought that maybe it's going to kind of go into some kind of Donner Party situation, which would be gnarly. It would be absolutely gnarly. D. Howard says, my thinking is the monsters were previous arrivals gone mad. They have become mad, and Fromville broke them, and that's why they're so cold and emotionless, completely broken. Oh, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. And yeah, the monsters have been a huge question mark up until this point, as opposed to referring to where exactly the hell they came from. Where did these monsters come from? How did they become monsters in the first place? Because we do have a little bit of hints in season 2, at least according to Christie's autopsy. She seems to think that they were human at one point. They have all kind of human organs inside of them. Granted, the human organs were all shriveled up in Smiley's case, but Christie at least seemed to think that they were human at one point. And I tend to think that was probably the case as well, just based on their clothing, their period correct clothing too. I get the feeling that these things were potentially human at some point, and something very tragic happened to them and turned them into these things. And maybe we'll learn a little bit more about that. I do remember hearing some of the creators state that at some point you will figure out the origin of the monsters. How the monsters were created will be a reveal on the show at some point. Will we get that in season 3? I'm not expecting it, but who knows? Who knows? But yeah, them potentially being previous members of the town that have maybe gone mad. That's as good a theory as I've heard, for sure. Definitely a good a theory as I have heard for sure. Um, let's see what else we got. Yeah, save 12 but let 3 die seems to be the common thing in those situations. Pretty much. Pretty much. You know, it's all about the greater good. Sacrifice the few to save the many. We've seen those situations play out, haven't we? Haven't we? Maybe they'll kill Randall and eat him. Maybe. Maybe Randall is on the chopping block. Well, a lot of people are a little worried about Randall. You know, especially looking at some of these season 2 stills. We see Randall clearly coming outside when this ambulance arrives. And then a few stills later, we see Randall writhing on the ground in pain. Just absolutely writhing in pain on the ground. Here he is. So yeah, a lot of people are wondering what the heck is happening to Randall in this scene. I really enjoy the theory of maybe the female officer shoots Randall, just thinking that he's another one of the monsters, because this is right around the time where we get a new arrival and some new characters. This is one of the new characters in season 3, a cop named Acosta, is pretty much the only information we have on her up until now. But we can see her ambulance driver, the EMT, is clearly dead on the road here. We see monsters are surrounding her. So I just thought it would be incredibly ironic and hilarious if Randall came out of his bus or wherever he's staying at to hopefully try and help this cop, and she just mistakes him for another monster and shoots his ass in the chest. It'd be pretty funny. It'd be pretty ironic, if nothing else, if the one selfless act Randall tries to commit ends up getting him freaking shot. I don't know. I don't know. Could be kind of funny. Could be kind of ironic, and if nothing else, could be kind of ironic. We got Crypto in the house. What is up, Crypto? Good to see you, my friend. I hope you are doing well. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. The sun is going down in the background, and I bet they spend the night there. Yeah, they could. They very well could be. And that's the thing. One thing I'm very excited about is them kind of exploring this world a little bit more. And that's why I love the stills that we see earlier of this. You know, the whole cannibal village, as it's been dubbed. I love the potential possibility of them visiting some new locations inside Fromville, because that's one thing I've been dying to learn a little bit more of ever since season 1. Why aren't they trying to map this place out a little bit more, especially now that they have the talismans and they have way to kind of rig something up to protect themselves even out there in the woods? Now is the time to get out there, map this place out, see what the heck is around you. Until they fully understand what Fromville is and what else is out there, they're never going to be able to fully combat this place and escape. They need to know really what they're dealing with. How vast is this place? How big is it? What else is around us? Because I have to imagine there are other structures, other settlements out there that we just haven't even been introduced to yet, similar to this, what we're seeing here in the season 3 trailers. So that's one of the most exciting things I'm looking forward to in season 3, is potentially opening up the world building a little bit more and finally visiting some new locations. Bring on Cannibal Village, I say. Bring on Cannibal Village. It would be more scary if the sacrifice is that the group will throw people to the monsters to save themselves. Oof, oof. Now there's a quick way to kind of sacrifice your humanity, abso-freaking-lutely. If they are forced into some sort of situation where they have to give up one of their own to survive, that's the slippery slope on the way to losing your humanity. Indeed, interesting. I don't think the show will have cannibalism. I don't think they will either. I tend to lean towards them probably not going in that direction. But it's a crazy thought to think that they would. I mean, they are making a very strong point that this food shortage is going to be a big problem in season 3. But yeah, once you cross that cannibalism line, there's no going back at that point. So yeah, I'm not sure if they'll go into that territory. I mean, maybe, but I tend to think they might not. I agree, Mandy. I do agree. I hope Dale gives Donna the thorn to Sam speech. Maybe the monsters taste like chicken. Oof. Now wouldn't that be kind of funny if they were forced to eat the monsters? That'd be just absolutely gnarly. I mean, isn't that kind of cannibalism too, though, in a sense? Yes, they're not fully human, but they're kind of human in some cases. I mean, eating a monster and eating a human, there's not much of a difference. It's still kind of human-like flesh that you're chomping down on at the end of the day. But no, that's interesting, Daryl. Maybe they have to eat the monsters. I still want to know who or what pulled the damn tent. Hashtag TentGate. Yes, Julie. And we actually discussed this a little bit. I don't know if it was in the Discord or in one of the previous streams, but you guys know me in my theory when it comes to the whole tent pulling, or at least maybe you don't. When we first see that scene, it's kind of presented as something is attacking Boyd and Sarah. Something is trying to kind of throw them off course, maybe. But then when you stop and analyze that scene in its entirety, and you start to really think, maybe whatever was dragging that tent wasn't trying to harm them. What if whatever was dragging that tent was trying to help get them closer to the lighthouse? What if they were trying to help them ultimately? Because we do notice when Boyd and Sarah do get dragged, they wake up the next morning and voila, they are within almost spitting distance of the lighthouse, close enough that the light from the lighthouse is shining down onto the tent. So initially, when I thought that something was attacking the tent at first, then I kind of took a step back and looked at the scene in its entirety. I thought, what if something wasn't trying to harm them? What if something was trying to help them get closer to the lighthouse? So yeah, that's a big mystery. What exactly was dragging that tent, and why were they dragging that tent? Were they trying to throw them off course, or were they trying to help them? I tend to think they were trying to help. Again, it's I don't think it's a coincidence that their tent just happened to end up incredibly close to the lighthouse the next morning. That seemed to be deliberate, but
Well,
I could
again,
be wrong.
it's the misdirection, and this show is masterful in how it handles the misdirection, and it's never exactly what you think, and the payoff's never immediate. We might not know until season 4. It just, we got
Yep.
answers in season 2 to some stuff in season 1 that, man, I didn't catch it until the second time I watched it. I'm like, wait, what was that one line? There's a bunch of little things like that, and that's a good show. That's why I love Twin Peaks, because you get stuff like that, and that shows good writing, and that's why this is so much fun. That's why I'm so looking forward to season 3,
Yeah,
especially after the
absolutely.
mediocreness of House of the Dragon season 2. Man, I
Yeah,
I
man.
need a good show.
Need some good storytelling in my life, and I have a feeling From season 3 is definitely going to deliver some very quality storytelling. And from what we're hearing from the creators has been, again, very exciting. Hearing that they are indeed putting some answers in season 3, and we will figure out the whole quote unquote true nature of the town. But even a little bit more so, you hear some of the actors talking about these episodes in season 3. And David Alpoy, in particular, the actor who plays Jade, he said there wasn't a single episode in season 3 that didn't give him nightmares. So it looks like they are returning to their horror roots in season 3. And I love that. I cannot wait to see where this thing goes. Bring it on.
Absolutely. So earlier, and I forget, I apologize to whoever mentioned it, but whoever brought up Robert McCammon, I just looked it up, The Wolf's
Mhm.
Hour. I had no idea this was nominated in '89 for the Bram Stoker Award for Best Novel. So I will
Oh,
definitely be
wow.
checking this out, man.
I'll definitely check that out
And
now.
I've
Hell
I've
yeah.
got I also found a pull quote from Gene Wolfe where Gene Wolfe's complimenting it. So if you are nominated for the Bram Stoker Award and you get Gene Wolfe to give you a pull quote, yeah, it's on my reading list for sure.
Yeah, that puts you at the top of the stack a little bit more for sure, for sure. And yeah, this is another question as well that has been kind of popped up as well. If Tabitha is in the real world, when exactly is she? What year is it? Is the question, as Movie Guru asks. And yeah, that's a fair question. A lot of people have been wondering. Okay, if Tabitha's in the real world, does that necessarily mean she's back in her time period? Or could she potentially be in a different timeline entirely? Could she have, be in the past, be in the future? And I guess we'll have to wait and find out. I tend to think she's in her timeline. I don't think she's going to be in the past personally, just based off some of the things we see in the season 3 trailer with her seemingly finding Eloise's drawings, or what appears to be maybe Eloise's drawings down in that basement. I suppose it's possible she could have kind of traveled into a different time period when she does return to the real world, but I definitely think it's probably more she's in the same time period that she left at. But who knows? Maybe she's not. Maybe maybe she kind of popped out and she's right in the same time period where Eloise maybe escaped. Maybe she went all the way back to 78 even. I have seen a lot of people wondering if she is in the current time period or if she is in the past. And I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I tend to think she's in the current same timeline that she left, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I guess we shall have to wait and see. We haven't seen a whole lot from the surrounding world as to where Tabitha is. We've seen a few shots in the trailers and a few shots from some leaked photos. But in terms of seeing like some technology, we see the hospital computer. And at least based on that hospital computer, how the technology of it, it seems like they're at least in the 80s or current, from the 80s to current, based on that model of computer that was in the hospital room. It just seemed like it was modern. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I definitely got more of a modern feel to Tabitha based on the hospital room, based on the few shots we get of her from the season 3 trailer. I think she's back in her original time period. And if that is the case, it's going to present a ton of questions for Tabitha as well, because at the end of the day, when Tabitha disappeared, her and her entire family disappeared. Then all of a sudden she shows up and it's just her. Both of her kids and her husband are still missing. That kind of thing makes you a freaking suspect, if nothing else. I mean, she was the last people to see her family alive. So if she kind of just pops up back into the real world and her family is still missing, there's going to be a lot of questions for her as to where she was, what happened to her, where are her family, and what's she going to say? Is she going to just come out and say the truth to authorities that she was trapped in this nightmarish landscape with no hope of escape, where monsters come out at night to fucking hunt you? She'll get thrown in a padded cell if she says that. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'd throw her in a padded cell if I heard that. I mean, who wouldn't?
No, man, no, I'm with you. I forget there was the old comedian that said, like, if Christ showed up today, he's turning water into wine and stuff, they drag him right into a cell. And it's the same thing. It's what do you do in that kind of an instance? What this person's been through, that you assume they're just schizophrenic as hell, and you'd pump them through full of drugs and just give them a padded cell. But what if somebody, and here's the thing, and this is just my theory, but everybody thinks she's crazy, but somebody wherever she is has ties, and this sounds familiar, and listens to her. And so she's got everybody around her saying she's crazy except for one person. That's where I think they're going to take it. And then that one person turns out to be, maybe it was the person on the phone, because we still need, or on the other side of the radio, because we still need to find that out.
Yeah, we do. And I'm hoping that we get a little bit of that in season 3. We do see that one scene of Jim in the trailer where he does get a phone call, and it's the very same phone that Kenny got his phone call from in his dream. Now, it's kind of hard to tell if this is a dream sequence or if it's a real reality sequence, but he is definitely getting a phone call. And I just thought it would be very interesting if he picks up this phone and he hears, "Your wife shouldn't have left, Jim," or something crazy along those lines, kind of harking back to that original call that he got at the end of season 1. "Your wife shouldn't be digging that hole, Jim." Now all of a sudden it's, "Your wife shouldn't have left, Jim." And not only that, it would also give them the confirmation that they need that Tabitha did indeed escape. Because we hear from the creators, they said in their description of season 3 that the tantalizing and real possibility of escape will be on the survivor's mind. So if all of a sudden there is this tantalizing and real possibility of escape, that stands to reason that they're going to find out in some way that Tabitha did make it back into the real world and that she's not just dead somewhere else. Because as far as Victor knows, Victor only went as far as the Farway tree that sends her to the lighthouse. She went to the lighthouse alone. So as far as Victor's concerned, I imagine he probably doesn't know what happened to her. He's going to come back to town alone without her. But as far as Victor knows, he doesn't know what happened to Tabitha. Did she make it out? Did she die in the tower? What exactly happened? How are these survivors going to find out that escape is a possibility? It seems like they have to find out at some point that Tabitha did, in fact, make it to the real world. So I thought this could be a good mechanism to have that happen, have this random voice call Jim and say, your wife shouldn't have left, Jim. Your wife shouldn't have escaped, Jim. Could be an interesting way to inform the survivors that Tabitha is indeed gone. But Julie also has a very interesting theory as to how the survivors could potentially find out that Tabitha's gone as well. And it ties back to the cop Acosta, that potentially Tabitha, when she does wake up in the hospital, she is questioned by police. I mean, that would be something that would definitely happen. You have this missing person who's been missing for a little while now. They pop back up without the rest of their family. That person is definitely going to be questioned by the police. Julie was potentially theorizing that maybe this was the cop who questioned Tabitha, and then she gets stuck here in Fromville. That would give Jim and the town the confirmation that Tabitha did indeed escape. So I'm looking forward to figuring that out. I mean, if escape is going to be a real possibility for the townsfolk in season 3, they're going to have to figure out some way that Tabitha is in the real world. But how exactly are they going to find that out? But I love both of these theories in terms of maybe the cop telling her, or even the phone call telling Jim when he picks it up. But they got to find out somehow. They're going to have to find out somehow that escape is possible, and that Tabitha herself has maybe even escaped. So yeah, season 3 seems like it's shaping up to be absolutely epic in terms of everything that we are going to see. I cannot wait. Well, the good thing is the survivors are now talking to the monsters. That means someone will ask, what do you want? Yeah, we do see there is a little bit more of dialogue between the monsters and the survivors that we're seeing in some of the trailers. In particular, that one scene of Boyd getting dragged into the barn and the cowboy monsters, speaking dialogue to him. You said this place couldn't break you. That's what you said. Let's see. So yeah, that stands to reason. Why not ask the monsters a question? Hey, what do you want? What's your purpose? What do you really want with us? Is this just a crazy, weird game of you hunting and killing us? Or is there something deeper? Is there a deeper meaning to what is going on here? I don't imagine they'll get the answer they want, but I suppose it wouldn't hurt to at least ask. Wouldn't hurt to at least ask. Now she's in the real world. She'll meet Eloise, and they'll work together to get back to Fromland, I believe. And again, that was kind of my original thought as well, especially considering they give Tabitha the lunchbox when she does go out of the window, which I think is going to be very telling and very prevalent in season 3. I think that lunchbox will play a part in hopefully bringing Tabitha and Eloise together. Because again, we do see when Tabitha goes up to the lighthouse, she does still have the lunchbox strapped around her. And then when we see Tabitha in the season 3 trailer, we see this one shot of her back in the real world, and she still has the lunchbox. That is the same rope that is attached to the lunchbox. So wherever she ended up, the lunchbox definitely went with her. And I knew it would. I think a lot of us had a feeling it would anyway. The writers wouldn't have put something this specific in Tabitha's possession if they weren't planning on having it being some kind of narrative plot point in season 3. It's just way too specific. If Victor just wanted to give Tabitha some snacks and drinks to take with her, he could have put it in any old bag and handed it to her. The writers specifically put that lunchbox in Tabitha's possession for a reason. And yes, maybe it will be to, again, bring Tabitha and Eloise together. Because if Eloise sees it, she would be one of the few people that would potentially recognize it, because her and Victor were children together. She's seen that lunchbox 100 times probably. So if anyone were to notice it, it might be Eloise. So yeah, I'm with you there. I definitely agree with you there. I think it's going to bring those two together for sure. For sure. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Let's see what we got. Cool, I'm doing a marathon because I haven't seen them since I was a kid and covered my eyes. LOL, I didn't want to look at the chest breaker in the eye, but it made me think of From. Yeah, there you go. Enjoy. Enjoy. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. I also kind of think that the symbol looks like the hospital symbol, and Tabitha's reflection in the window is not her if you look carefully. And yeah, we did look at both of those towards the end of season 2. The symbol on the hospital monitor, it does kind of look similar to Jade's symbol, the symbol that Jade has been seeing. It does kind of have a similar kind of symmetrical feel to it in terms of the symbol and the lines. In terms of the reflection, though, the reflection of Tabitha in the window, I do think that is Tabitha in the window. I don't think that is somebody else. I don't have them with me. They're in a different folder, but I do have another folder that has a ton of stills where I tried to get as many stills as possible looking at this face in the window. And if you look a little bit closely, it is Tabitha. A lot of people seem to think it's a blonde-haired lady, but that's really just the sun in Tabitha's. That's just the sun reflecting off of Tabitha's hair, and it kind of makes her look blonde. Because I thought it might have been someone different at first too, because that was a pretty popular fan theory at the end of season 2. A lot of people thought there was a different reflection in the window, because a lot of people saw the blonde hair. But based on all of the stills that I took and that I've enhanced, it looks like it is Tabitha. It just looks like the sun is kind of bouncing off of her hair, almost making her appear like she's blonde. But I'm like 90% sure that it really is Tabitha in that reflection and that it's not somebody else. I could be wrong, of course, but I'm pretty sure it's Tabitha there. It's just the sun kind of distorting the image, making it look like somebody else, because we can see the sun bouncing off of her hair right here. The sun is really bouncing off of her head, almost like the sun is directly in her face. So I think that's where that distortion comes from, almost making it appear like it's somebody else. But I do think it's Tabitha. But again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Press the buttons and the humans explode. Are they looking for gallstones? Hence the fresh bile. Oh, yeah, the bile. That is right. Yeah, there was so much hype around the bile in season 2, wasn't there? Like, a lot of us were thinking this bile was going to have some kind of weird use. I had a feeling it wasn't going to work as a direct weapon, like the way that they were planning to use it to dip bullets into it and shoot the monsters. I just had a feeling that wasn't going to be a good mechanism for this bile. But I had a feeling that it might be useful in some other way that maybe they accidentally stumble across. Could the bile potentially be used as some sort of kind of camouflage or something to hide from the monsters or some weird shit like that? But yeah, it seems like the bile, at least up until this point, was a big old bust, a big old red herring. Now, of course, they could bring the bile back in some weird capacity. We're not exactly sure what happened to the rest of the bile. We know Boyd didn't use all of it on those bullets. But yeah, maybe the bile will come back in some weird way and they'll discover some alternate use for it. But in terms of it being a weapon, seems like it was a bust. But you think we'll see the bile again, Aldous?
I don't. That's one of those things that I don't know if it was something they tried and just didn't know then what to do with, or if it's something that they've actually got a plan for. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was something that was even worthwhile. So I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But man, this show gave me a twist before, so I don't know for sure. But I don't think so. I don't think it's going to come up again. If anything, I think they wasted a little time on it. I think it was just kind of a dead end. It really didn't make sense to me at the time. We talked about this when we watched season 2. It didn't seem like something that was reasonable to even consider.
Mm. Yeah, it did seem like it was kind of a desperate attempt. Like, they did this autopsy, hoping to get some answers, hoping to find some kind of weakness for the monster, and all they had was this bile. So it seemed like it was just kind of a last-ditch, desperate attempt to see if we can use this thing. But yeah, I had a feeling it wouldn't work for a weapon in particular. But I was wondering if it would have maybe some other kind of use. But I guess we'll find out. I mean, if the bile comes back into the show in some other capacity and has some other use, maybe we'll see, or maybe we'll never see it again. I mean, I suppose either are possible. Papa Sock says, so how does the rewatch watch? Can you talk on what we need to do to participate? Yeah, I mean, if you want to, the rewatch parties that we're going to be doing directly in the Discord, all you got to do is join the Discord and hop into the watch party channel when it goes live. And we're going to be doing the watch parties on Sunday night. We're going to be doing the first one tomorrow night. And yeah, all you got to do is join the Discord, and everybody's welcome to join the Discord. It's free to join. It's an open Discord for everybody, and that's it. Join the Discord, and when the watch party starts, you click over onto the watch party channel and click join, and boom, you'll be right there watching episode season 2 of From with the rest of us. Simply join the Discord and join the watch party. The rest we do on our end. But thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down a little bit more. I was happy to see them at least try something with the Bile. Like after the radio, a lot of them didn't want to try anything. I don't think we will see the Bile again. And I do agree with you there, Glue Guns and Roses. It was interesting to see them at least kind of think outside the box. And that was one thing I think a lot of us were kind of screaming at the show by the time we got towards that second half of season 2. It's like, why won't they at least try and go on the offensive? They need to go on the offensive at some point. They can't just always be playing defense like this. At some point, they need to try and take the fight to the monsters. So in that regard, yes, it was nice to see them at least attempt something as flawed as the original plan might have been. It was nice to see them at least try to go on the offensive. But in terms of seeing the Bile again, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll see it again or not. Not sure. I am not sure. I thought the Bile was off track, says Dr. Deb. Yeah, it seemed like a kind of last-ditch attempt, like a desperate attempt to, try and have some kind of weapon.
I think Dr. Deb was one of the ones, one of the few on my side when we were going over episode by episode, and that happened. It's like I don't get this. This doesn't register.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Is the boy in white really a boy? According to Sarah, she stated she didn't think it was a boy. Yes, and I don't think he's really a boy either. I mean, he definitely is not a boy in terms of age. We do know that the boy in white presented himself to young Victor looking exactly the same that he does right now. So if the boy in white has been in this town since Victor was a child, at the very least, the boy in white is 40, 50 years old, probably even older than that when you think about how long he's maybe been here in its entirety. But no, I 100% agree. I think Sarah is right. I don't think he is just your average boy. It definitely seems like he's much, much older, and it seems like he's just presenting himself in the form of a child. Either that or he's stuck in the form of a child. Maybe this was a real child at one point. Something tragic happened to him, and now he's kind of stuck as this never-aging kind of entity that he is. But no, in terms of him just being a boy, I don't think so. I mean, at the very least, he's been in this town for 4 or 5 decades since Victor was a child. So he at least has to be 40, 50 years old, probably even older, maybe even centuries old for all we know. But no, he's definitely not a normal and real boy. Something is very up with the boy in white, and he's not your average kid, riding his bike down the street every day. The boy in white seems to be much older indeed. Let's see what else we got. I was asking more about where it came from, not a weapon, wondering why body is old fossilized. Yeah, that's a very good question. Why was Smiley's body all kind of shriveled up and dry like that? What exactly? I mean, obviously it looked like he had human organs, but it looked like they were all shriveled up and these organs haven't worked in a very long time. But what exactly happened? How did he get to that state? I mean, and I guess that goes back to, how do these monsters get created? What kind of process, what happened to these humans to turn them into this monster-like state? And whatever that process is, maybe it kind of mummified or fossilized their internal organs. It doesn't seem like they need their organs to survive anymore. I don't know how old these things are, if they're immortal, if they're capable. It doesn't look like they're capable of aging much. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how they got like that. But I get the feeling whatever kind of transformation they underwent that turned them from humans to monsters, also probably mummified or fossilized their internal organs, because it seems like they don't need them anymore. But yeah, good question though. Very, very good question. Let's see what else we got. I think being with Sarah, you're either going to understand more or die. Period. Yeah, you got to be careful getting too close to Sarah. You're either going to get answers or you're going to get yourself dead. One of the two. Yes, I am with you, Tamara. I am with you. How are we sure Boyd's blood still not infected? Yes, Papa Socks. I love that you mentioned that. And I'm actually not 100%. I'm not 100% convinced that his blood is clean, to be honest. And if his blood isn't 100% clean, then what exactly could potentially happen to Ellis as well? Because we did see him give Ellis that blood transfusion. I actually did a weird kind of tinfoil hat video on this a while back, and I kind of tied it into a theory regarding Fatima and potentially building up and in her potentially birthing a monster baby. But no, I've asked that question myself 100 times as well. How do we know for 100% certainty that Boyd's blood was clean and it wasn't some small trace of those worms or something else in his bloodstream still? You're dealing with this foreign entity that we have no idea its origins. We have no idea where it came from. We have no idea how it operates, if it duplicates inside the bloodstream. We really know nothing about this thing. Are we 100% sure that all of Boyd's blood is clean? I don't know. I don't know. I like the question, Papa Socks, and I'm with you. At this point, I would not be too surprised if we found out that his blood wasn't all the way clean. And if that is the case, I wouldn't be too surprised if we find out that there is something wrong with Ellis now as well after he got the transfusion. But no, yeah, it's again, we're dealing with these crazy foreign entities that we have no idea how they operate. So how can we be sure? How can we be 100% sure his blood's clean? We can't. We can't. And yes, the writers are awesome, says Tamara Jones. They really are. And that's why, again, I can't throw enough credit to the creators and writers of From. It seems like they really have stumbled upon something special here, I think, in terms of the storytelling, the incredible cast that they have assembled. It's the show's in the right hands, I think. I think the show is in the right hands. The boy in white is not a real boy, says Daryl Seymour. And yes, I definitely agree with that. He's too old to be just a regular toddler child. Again, at the very least, he's decades old, maybe even centuries old. Who knows how old he really is? But yeah, he presents himself as a boy, but he is not really a boy, for sure. For sure. Yeah, we've been over a few options for who he is, and the majority think father, but could be a foster father for Eloise, could be an uncle or anything. Oh yes, in terms of the other new character that season 3 has been showing us in the trailers, who is the old man that Tabitha comes in contact with? Yeah, as of right now, it seems like the most popular running theory seems to be that this could potentially be Victor and Tabitha's father, which is an interesting theory. It's a very interesting theory. We were going over the dates the other night, and this person is definitely at least old enough to be their father. The actor who is playing this guy is in his 70s or so, and at this point in time, Victor and Eloise would have been in their 50s or so. So in terms of the age at least fits where it's possible that this person could be Eloise and Victor's father. Some other people have theorized that maybe this is Eloise's husband, which I suppose is also possible as well. Again, Eloise would be in her 50s right now, so having someone that 10, 20 years older than her that she married is possible, I guess. But yeah, what exactly is going on here? We see these pictures on the wall that seem to look like Eloise and young Victor. And then when we see a little bit later down in this dude's basement, we see the Ankui drawings, the freaking drawings of the Ankui children, the same children Tabitha has been seeing. So yeah, I can't wait to figure out what this connection means and who exactly this dude is, and what answers is he potentially going to be able to give to Tabitha. We know Tabitha is going to be on a quest to find her way back to Fromville. And how does she do that? She does that by, of course, finding out what Fromville is in the first place. She needs to find out some information, and any information pertaining to this place that she can find in the real world is going to be very valuable. So stumbling upon these paintings, at the very least, it's going to show Tabitha that she's on the right track. And I really hope we get some kind of meeting between Tabitha and Eloise in season 3. I really think that would be such an awesome thing to see. And again, the lunchbox that Tabitha is carrying would just be the perfect catalyst to bring those two characters together, because Eloise would probably recognize the lunchbox. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who this dude is. It seems like he's going to play some kind of prevalent part in season 3, and what part that remains remains to be seen. We did also see some leaked photos a while ago. This was actually back during the filming of season 2. Long before any trailers or anything came out, they were doing some filming of season 2, and they put out a specific picture of this right here. Here we have Tabitha and this new character. We were wondering who this dude was, and none of us could really identify him at first until we saw the trailer, because everyone next to Tabitha we can identify. This is John Griffin, the writer and creator of From. This is Jeff Pinker, the showrunner of From, and this is Jack Bender, the director, one of the main directors on From. So that left us to wonder, who exactly is this dude? But now that we have seen the season 3 trailer, we have an answer to that. This is one of the new characters for season 3. And we have some pictures of Tabitha and this guy filming some kind of scene inside of a car that is out parked on the street. So whoever this guy is, he is going to be a big part of Tabitha's story in season 3. And yeah, I can't wait to figure out who he is. Is he Victor and Eloise's father? Does he have some other kind of familial connection to Victor and Eloise? I guess we'll wait and find out. But yeah, there's so much we don't know about Victor's family and about Victor's father. I mean, every time we hear Victor or see anything about Victor, we've only learned about him, the sister, and the mother. We have no idea what is up with Victor's father, if he was in the picture, if he was traveling with them when they got stuck here, if they were divorced. We have no idea what is up with Victor's father up until this point. So maybe we'll learn a little bit more. Maybe we will learn a little bit more. But either way, looks like this guy is going to be a pretty important part of Tabitha's storyline in season 3. And I cannot wait to see what part he's going to play. Tabitha looks like I get the feeling Tabitha is going to have a very big and immense journey ahead of her. If she does return to Fromville at all, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. I think she has a long road ahead of her before she's reunited with her family. She's got a big journey to go through, a very big journey to go through, I think. But we will find out. But we have a $4 super sticker as well from Papa Socks. Thank you so much for the $4 super sticker. That is incredibly generous of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. We also have all mods cons for $5. Thank you so much. Remember on Game of Thrones that Hodor meant hold the door. Could Ankui be a shorter word like Hodor? I don't know what word it might be, though. Ooh, interesting. That's an interesting thought. Could it potentially be some abbreviated version of a longer phrase, perhaps? Interesting. Very interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a very interesting thought. I like it. Yeah, I'm going to have to put on my thinking cap after the stream is over and see if I can find a phrase that might fit Ankui. All right, yeah, you got me thinking now. All mod cons, you definitely got me thinking now. And that's what I love about this show, and that's what I love about this chat. The show really challenges you as a viewer. It really makes you think. It makes you kind of dive into these things and figure out what exactly is this show trying to tell us. What are the surface level meanings of some of these character points and some of these character arcs, and what are the deeper underlying meanings that this show is trying to tell us as well. Because this show, it's got so much going on, both on the surface and very much buried beneath the surface as well. And anytime I see something that challenges me, that really makes me kind of throw on my thinking cap and really try to dive deep into something, that's always fun. So no, that's a very interesting idea. Like I said, I'm definitely going to throw on my thinking cap after the stream and see if I can find any kind of phrases that might fit that. But yeah, who knows? Maybe it's some kind of abbreviated version of a longer phrase. That's a very interesting idea. Very interesting idea. And thank you so much for the 5 as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I like it. Boy in white is some kind of avatar for an entity, and that could be possible as well. I mean, the boy in white, again, there's just so much about him we don't know. The only time we ever see the boy in white that seems to be in like full physical form is when Tabitha sees him in the lighthouse. He's able to physically push her out of the window, but on top of that, he's talking to Tabitha and his mouth is actually moving. The previous time we saw the boy in white talking to Sarah at the end of season 1, not only can Boyd not see him at all, but his mouth isn't even moving when he's talking to Sarah. It's almost like he's kind of telepathically communicating with her directly into her head. But yet when he's talking to Tabitha in the lighthouse, he's speaking kind of normally. So yeah, there's so many weird red flags about this crazy boy in white and who and what he really is. But as you mentioned, Michael, could he potentially be some kind of avatar for some other entity that's kind of manipulating the characters into certain kind of places? Certainly possible. That is certainly possible. We know nothing of the boy in white's motives up until this point in terms of what does he really want? What game is he really trying to play? We know nothing about what this character really wants. So could he be, like you said, an avatar for a bigger entity? That's certainly possible. Certainly possible indeed. The boy in white seems like he passed on to me like a ghost entity of some sort. And that's kind of the vibe I got, especially when we see the boy in white and the Ankui children. They seem to be obviously not the same, but they do seem to be a little bit similar, even down to their outfits. You look at all of the outfits that the Ankui children are dressed in, that all white. The boy in white has a very similar outfit on every time you see him. So yeah, what exactly is the boy in white? I mean, again, I definitely think he could have been some kind of child at one point, and maybe he was, as you mentioned, Greek girl, a spirit that might have died, that might have passed on, and now he's kind of stuck in that physical form. He's stuck in the form of a child, and he's trapped here in this town. Maybe he's looking for a way out just as much as everybody else. It's really hard to tell what he wants because we know nothing about his motives. But yeah, he definitely doesn't seem like a regular child, and he does seem a little bit more like he's this kind of ghostly, ghastly kind of entity-like thing. He can kind of pop up all over the place. We see him randomly popping up in the forest. We see him randomly popping up down in the caves to warn Victor that Tabitha is going to be falling through that hole pretty soon. So not only does he pop up all over the place, but it almost seems like he knows about things that are going to happen before they happen. How did the boy in white know that Tabitha was going to fall into that cave? The boy in white told Victor to wait for Tabitha down there in that cave. So the boy in white knew she was going to fall down there long before she even fell down there, but he didn't warn her. So what exactly is up with this boy in white? What are his motives? What does he really want? I don't know, but hopefully we learn a little bit more about him in season 3. For sure. We got a 199 from D. Howard. Thank you so much, D. Howard, for the 199. Thanks for all your content. Well, I thank each and every one of you for coming out here and hanging out with us every week and being a part of the conversation and making these discussions so effing fun. Like, I genuinely... I genuinely look forward to these From discussions every week. I love diving into the show with everybody. I love hearing everybody else's point of view and what you guys are thinking, what theories you guys think are coming down the pipeline. Talking about this show is never a chore. It's always fun. And that is in large part thanks to each and every one of you. Thank you, D. Howard, and thank each and every one of you in the chat and everyone who watches our videos on the replay. You guys have been so supportive, absolutely so supportive. And I see the chat is calling for a woe, and I am nothing but obligated to the chat. You guys want a woe you shall get. Cover your ears, gents. A woe is coming.
Whoa!
Yes. A whoa, a whoa, a whoa. And thank you so much for the support. You guys have been absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. Or maybe he never was a boy. He could be just another god or from lord pulling strings in the town. And that very well could be possible as well. Like maybe he's just kind of taking on the form of a boy to make people trust him a little bit more. I mean, if you are a kind of evil, dark entity or any entity at all, how are people going to be the most likely to be kind of comfortable around you or to trust what you're going to say? Some random creepy adult or a child? I think a child is going to be much more kind of less scary, if nothing else. So if this thing is some kind of other deity, some kind of other weird Fromville god, then yeah, taking on the form of the boy in white, a kind of small, harmless looking child, that could be just a way to kind of disarm people, a way to make people feel a little more comfortable around him so he can manipulate them better. So no, that's a good point. That's a very good point, Glue Guns. He could have, maybe he was never a boy. Maybe this is just a form that he's taking to manipulate people. Very possible. Very possible indeed. Indeed. Julie Barber says, I think the boy in white is an avatar for an entity, in my opinion. Maybe the lesser of two evils, trying to keep a dangerous entity from escaping into the world. So he has to keep the cycle going so he can't help more. Maybe. Yeah, it could be. It could be. Again, there's just so much about him we don't know. And again, I tend to think he's not really a boy as well. I tend to think he's not a boy. I mean, again, yes, he appears himself as a boy, but as Glue Guns said earlier, and as you mentioned earlier, I tend to think he's probably some other weird kind of entity. He's clearly not a child in terms of age. We know he's at least been in the town for 40, 50 plus years, ever since Victor was a child. Well, when Victor was a child is the first time that we see him in the timeline story-wise. And we know that the massacre takes place in 1978. So at the very least, the boy in white is decades old, probably even older. But yeah, I tend to agree with you guys. I don't think he's a boy at all. I think he's just maybe taking on this form of a child in order to kind of enact his plan. Whatever his plan is, we don't quite know. Is he on the side of good? Is he on the side of evil? It's hard to tell. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to learn a little bit more about him, because I definitely think he's no average child. He's got some kind of motivation. What is his ultimate goal? What is his agenda? We still don't know. The dialogue I thought was very interesting at the end of season 2 in terms of him saying to Tabitha, I'm sorry, this is the only way, and then proceeds to push her out of the window. So yeah, it seems like he might be playing his own game, the boy in white, and
Right.
I guess we'll find out what his true ultimate motive is.
Yeah. Well, Jared, unfortunately, I gotta call it, man. I'm hitting the
No,
end of my
absolutely,
rope.
man. I
So
know it's late
thank
for
you to
you.
yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you everybody in the chat. This is always awesome, and I'm sorry I can't hang out to the end of the show, but it's been a
No, no
brutal
worries.
week, and I'm fading fast. So have a good one. Thanks again, Jared, and everybody. I'll be over on the Discord. If not this week, definitely next week. So I'll catch you there. Have a
Awesome.
good one.
Awesome. Have a good one, my friend. Take it easy. And thank you for joining me. Absolutely. But yeah, boy in white, still super sus. Still super sus, in my opinion. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of evidence pointing to him being on the side of good. But then again, there's also some evidence pointing to him being incredibly sus as well. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. I am not quite sure. But yeah, I'd love to get everybody's opinions in the chat. What do you guys think about the boy in white? Is he ultimately going to help the survivors? Is he going to harm the survivors? Or is he simply an entity that just has his own agenda that hasn't been revealed yet? And he's neither good nor bad. He's just kind of enacting his plan. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. The other thing I thought might be happening is each area has its own spirit. / boy in white matches 50s vibe. Cannibal dude Jade sees matches the cannibal village. Yeah, it's this whole cannibal village thing that has been popping up has been very, very intriguing. And again, I love the prospect of them visiting some new locations in season 3. That's one thing I've really wanted this show to do ever since the beginning, is kind of open this world up a little bit more. Let's truly find out what the hell else is out there. And it looks like we are going to get a little bit of that. But yeah, who knows? Maybe. Maybe, Admiral. Maybe. Let's see what else we got. Let's see what else we got. Not just that, the fact that there was yellow bile in the body in the first place tells you the bile was going to be important. The writers didn't have to have there be bile in the body. Yeah, that's one of those things where, I mean, a lot of us thought that it was going to have some kind of use. We see this bile, it was kind of hyped up to potentially be a weapon or something else, and then it just goes nowhere. And it could be possible that the bile was just one big red herring, that it was meant to invoke that feeling in us, in the audience, but ultimately it was never meant to go anywhere. Writers of mystery box style shows, they tend to throw in some red herrings like that from time to time, where they'll build something up to make you think it's very important, to all of a sudden it just kind of goes nowhere. So the bile could have been just one giant red herring, or maybe it will return in some other capacity. Maybe they will discover that the bile has some other use, other than because we know it didn't work as a direct weapon, but maybe they'll figure out it has some other kind of use that they can use it for. Maybe we haven't seen the end of the bile. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what else we got. I hate the fact that Victor has allegedly been in Fromville for 40 years alone and survived with some help from just the boy in white. And yeah, that's another thing that's an incredibly big question mark in terms of what the heck is going on with Victor. Now, we know he's been here for a very long time, but as you mentioned, Wolfspear, has he been here for that long alone? I mean, we know that Donna seems to be the person who has been here the second longest after Victor. And Donna's been in Fromville for around 3 years from the start of the story. When the Matthews family arrives, Donna's already been in there for around 3 years. So if we do the math, if that is the case, that means that Victor was potentially by himself alone with nobody but the boy in white for, what, 30, maybe almost 40 years? It seems a little unlikely considering how frequently new people tend to show up in Fromville. I think what might be a little more likely is Victor was on his own for a while, but then new arrivals started to come in, and slowly but surely they subsequently all got killed off. Like maybe there was a whole other generation of people in Fromville in between our current town and the 1978 version of the town. Maybe there were other people that have kind of come and gone since then that have just died off. Because if Donna is the person who has been in Fromville the second longest after Victor, and she's only been there for 3 years, then yeah, what the hell happened with all of those other 3 decades? Was Victor just alone that whole time? I don't know. I don't know, but that is definitely still a big question. We know that he was on his own for a while, just based off what we've heard from Victor, the character, and just seeing the state that he is in. Like, you can tell that this is someone who has faced isolation for an extended period of time, and it has had a severe impact on Victor's psyche and on his and on his development. He's essentially still that 10-year-old kid stuck in an adult's body. So I suppose it's totally possible that Victor could have been alone for that many decades, or were there some other arrivals in between that we haven't heard about yet? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't trust a kid walking around all in white after Labor Day. No deal. Yes, CJ. Don't trust a kid walking around in all white after Labor Day. No deal. Yes. That might be MVB comment of the night. I like that one. I like that one. That's good. The boy in white's a version that survived what happened to the Ankui kids. His experiments went well. Is he Chris? Now, that's a very interesting idea as well. Like, could the boy in white also have been someone who underwent the same kind of weird experiment ritual thing that the Ankui children were going under? Was he originally one of the Ankui children who maybe escaped the experiment, or was he the only one that it was maybe successful on? That's an interesting thought as well, because we have no idea what's going on with the boy in white or these Ankui children. But if you look at both of them, there are some similarities there in terms of they all look to be around the same age, in terms of physical age, and they all seem to be dressed all in white as well. So there are some similarities between the Ankui children and the boy in white. Could they be similar or one and the same? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I'm more interested in the connection between the boy in white and Ethan. Yeah, they didn't really go anywhere with that since early on in season one. I mean, we look back to season one, episode 2, I believe it is, which is the first time we see the boy in white. He's waving to Ethan, of all people. And that kind of gave you the sense that they were setting something up for Ethan's storyline and the boy in white. But since then, we haven't really seen Ethan and the boy in white interact a whole lot. So I was wondering about that as well. What is going to happen? What is the connection going to be between Ethan and the boy in white? Because Ethan is the first person the boy in white reveals himself to from people from this time period. Victor doesn't even know that the boy in white is back until Ethan tells him about it. So yeah, what exactly was meant to happen there? I certainly was expecting there to be a little bit more of a connected storyline between Ethan and the boy in white, but that hasn't really gone anywhere yet. But maybe it will. Maybe it will. Let's see what else we got. Awesome stuff tonight, guys. You guys are absolutely killing it. I love it. I've heard other people mention another village or cannibal groups, but I don't know why people think that. I get food is running out, but I don't think cannibal vibes from the trailer. Yeah, I don't particularly get cannibal vibes. I think the whole cannibal village thing kind of just comes. I believe Ravener was one of the first to say it. And I think it just comes from this image, really. You see this one dude kind of drinking out of a skull. I can understand why people were getting some kind of cannibal vibes. The dude is drinking out of a literal human skull, it looks like. So I can understand people getting some kind of cannibal vibes from this image. But I don't think we're going to get full-on cannibalism. I mean, we could. I mean, who knows where the narrative is going to take us. But yeah, I tend to think we're not going to get full-on cannibalism. But I think this image is what kind of invoked a lot of those cannibal theories, because you see this dude literally drinking out of a human skull. So I think that's where a lot of the cannibal theories have originated from. And then a lot of people have seen the new village that seems to be in season 3, and some thought that maybe that's where that dude is from. But I tend to think that this dude isn't from anywhere. I think that this is just a vision that Jade is having. I don't think this is a real person that they are going to stumble on. I definitely think this is more of a vision. And I feel like the eye is a big giveaway. We see this eye. It looks like a brand spanking new, fresh cut. And then later on in the trailer, we see this guy walking up to Jade and grabbing Jade. So I don't think it's a real person that lives in that village. I think that that is just a vision that Jade is having of this weird dude drinking out of a skull. I don't think it's a real person. I definitely think it's going to be a Jade vision. Because at one point, we see Jade right here. He looks up. And that looks to be when he sees this dude, and he kind of it looks like he kind of just appears out of nowhere. And that's what leads me to believe that it is probably more of a vision than it just being a real person. Then, of course, he starts drinking out of the cup, out of the skull cup. And then later on in the trailer, we can see that same person walking up to Jade and grabbing him, which of course is very similar to one of Jade's first visions when he sees the Civil War soldier. The Civil War soldier literally runs up to Jade and impales him with a freaking bayonet. So these visions have been known to kind of get physical with Jade in the past. Although Jade didn't get hurt by the bayonet, he at least felt like it was real. And I think that's probably a similar thing that's happening right here. We see that same character walking up to Jade and grabbing him, and I think he'll probably disappear not long after that. But I get the feeling it's a vision. I do get the feeling that this is a Jade vision. I don't think it's a real person. But again, I could be 100% wrong. I could be 100% wrong. And that's okay. I don't mind being wrong. It's nothing wrong with being wrong. Let's see what else we got. Andrew West says, and some people have speculated about an eclipse coming. Yes, yes, absolutely. We have. Do you think winter arriving is significant longer nights, potentially more time for the monsters to roam? Absolutely, Andrew. And I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, I mean, like you said, it does look like a winter is finally coming into Fromville. And I mean, I'm from the Northeast. I'm from New England. We all know what winters do. You have much longer nights, of course. So yeah, there could be a potential time period where they have nowhere near as much daytime compared to the nighttime that they have to kind of combat. So yeah, maybe they're going to have to spend a lot more time in their houses compared to the normal Fromville weather that's usually around there. That seems to be a little bit more kind of spring summer focused based on the temperature, and the fact that they can go swimming in the Brundles. Stands to reason that it's not crazy cold here usually. That it's more of a spring or summer kind of climate. But now, yeah, we have full on winter coming in, and that could definitely mean longer nights. And I love the eclipse idea as well. That's something that we talked about a while ago. That you start to think what could kind of throw the town just completely off their feet. We know that these monsters come out at night, but they have the talismans now, and usually they have a very good warning before nighttime comes around. They have plenty of time to get inside, shut and lock all the doors, and hang up that talisman. But if a freaking eclipse just comes out of nowhere, that is going to throw a very interesting wrench into the mix when it comes to this show, because then all of a sudden you're not safe even during the day. They very much feel like the day is their respite. The day is when they can get everything done. It's where they keep the town afloat. It's where they eat and congregate. But all of a sudden, if there's eclipses coming, around the corner, then yeah, even during the day isn't going to be safe at that point. So I love the eclipse idea. I think that's one of the coolest ideas the fandom has come up with. And I like it. I think it's 100% possible too. We might see an eclipse. I think it'd be pretty cool. I think it'd be pretty cool. Maybe some age faster. I've wondered if the fast healers are just passing time quickly, not really having a healing power. Oh, interesting, Michael. Interesting. Yeah, we have seen on the show at times certain characters seem to heal a little bit faster than others. Now, I'm not sure if the show is specifically setting that up for a reason or if it's just a coincidence, but we have seen, in the case of Jim, for instance, Jim gets a very minimal injury to his leg early in season 2, and he's walking with a very weak limp. It's not a serious injury at all. Yet, if you look at Jim, he has that limp for almost the entirety of season 2. But then you look at some of the injuries that Ethan and Ellis have sustained. Ethan gets impaled through his leg by the table of a chair, and he's up walking around on crutches the next day. And Ellis, it's even worse. Ellis gets stabbed in his freaking lung with a 7-inch blade, a wound that could probably kill most people. And he's literally up on his feet the next day painting. So yeah, it seems like some characters might be healing a little bit faster than others, but I don't know what they mean by that. Is that going to be a specific kind of plot point that comes into the narrative at some point where they're actually going to address the quote unquote healing factor? Or is that just a coincidence? I don't know. But on the surface, it seems like some characters might heal faster than others, which again is another huge kind of similarity to Lost. And I know anyone who has watched Lost and is watching From, I'm sure you have noticed the dozens of similarities and parallels between these two shows. And that's just another one of them, because Lost, the island on Lost had a very similar effect where some people, not everyone, but some people landed on the island and they were all of a sudden healed. Like healing paralysis, healing tumors, cancer, things like that. Some people land on that island and they were completely cured of their ailments. So yeah, maybe something similar is happening in Fromville. Who knows? Who knows? Let's see what else we got. Let me scroll down. If there wasn't a living there for a dimension to feed off of, would it shrink up and die? Ooh, if there wasn't people living there for the dimension to feed off, would it shrink up and die? Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. I suppose we need to find out what exactly is powering this whole thing to begin with. How exactly is Fromville? What makes Fromville Fromville? And is it a alternate dimension? Is it some kind of pocket dimension? There are a lot of signs that point to it potentially being some sort of pocket universe, and we get that answer super early on in season 1 from freaking Dale of all people, where he says this is a pocket universe, a pocket dimension, and everybody just kind of waves him off. Nobody takes him seriously. But what if they were trying to give us the answer very early on and we just didn't see it? Because, yeah, if you were to tell me that From is some sort of pocket universe, it would explain a few things. It certainly would explain why people are getting sucked into this place from totally different parts of the United States. Whether you're in the Northeast, in the South, everyone seems to be getting stuck here from a different part of the map. And if it is a pocket universe or a pocket dimension of sorts, that could potentially explain that aspect at least. Yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Let's see what else we got. What if it's like a Saw game and Ethan's genius child mind was right crossing over the tree, and they had to leave their material stuff and cars to survive, but they failed. Ooh, interesting. Interesting, FML. And you know me, FML, I have been dying to see what exactly would happen if someone were to continue beyond that tree, because we haven't seen a single character do that yet. Every character that we've seen up until this point, they drive up to the tree and they turn around. But what would happen if someone were to continue beyond that tree, maybe on foot, hop over it, continue on foot? What would they find? Would they just end up right back in the town of Fromville, like the direction behind them? Or would it potentially lead to something else? But yeah, I don't know. I've always wondered why no one has tried to kind of continue beyond the tree. Or maybe they have and we just haven't seen it yet. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. Again, will they end up just back in the town, or could there be something else out there to discover? We do know if you go on foot, at least through the woods route, you do end up discovering other stuff, because getting stuck here over and over and over again, that seemed to happen when they were driving on the road. In the RV, on the road, they're driving that same road, they end up always back in Fromville. But when Boyd and Sarah take off and leave the town on foot through the woods, they don't end up back in Fromville. They actually end up making it out there and covering a lot of ground. So there is some parts to kind of leave this town where you're not just going to automatically end up back in the town. There is a way to explore what else is out there. And yeah, maybe going beyond that tree could be one of those things that they could explore. Maybe. Ethan will be around after the massacre, and he will chill with the boy in white. End scene from the series finale. Curtains come down, another cycle will begin. And that is an interesting theory. You know, a lot of people think that maybe Ethan might become the next Victor. And you see how closely their storylines are kind of matching each other. And who knows? Yeah, maybe that will be like you said, the start of a new cycle, because we have seen a lot of kind of evidence that points to that as well. The history seems to be repeating itself over and over and over again, maybe. And maybe that's what all the different dates in the lighthouse are referring to. Maybe each one of those dates was a different cycle of people living here in Fromville. Because you look at all the history repeating itself, it's too much to just be a coincidence. We see Tabitha's storyline is very much mirroring Miranda's storyline, Victor's mother. Back in 78, we saw Victor's mother. She was the one who went to the tower to try and rescue the kids and all of that. And now here we have Tabitha doing the exact same thing. Then we have Jade. Jade is being plagued with this symbol that he is seeing over and over and over again, and he's being kind of challenged to solve it. But before Jade, we know that Christopher was the one who was seeing this symbol over and over and over again. So we are seeing these characters' storylines kind of mirror each other every once in a while, kind of giving some more evidence to the whole cycle theory that could potentially be happening here. Maybe we're seeing cycles happen over and over and over again. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what else we got. The Puritan man drinking from the child's skull is going to be one of Jade's visions. It's not real. And I tend to think that as well. So I tend to agree. It seems like it's one of those Jade vision kind of vibes. That's the kind of vibe I get from it watching it. But again, I could be wrong, but I do agree with you. I do agree. I think they may be harvesting the organs to offer up as sacrifices / offerings after seeing those totem scarecrow figures. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting indeed. Yeah, the totems were such a cool thing to kind of see in the trailer. These totems / scarecrow kind of things. And what exactly are they? I mean, I love the idea that they could be some other form of talisman that maybe setting up these totems around a town keeps the monsters out of the town completely. But I also really enjoyed Julie's theory from the other night as well, actually. When you look a little bit closer to these 3 totems, you can kind of interpret them to be hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. And she pointed out that this one kind of looks like it is 2 arms covering ears, hence hear no evil. This one, you can see, has its mouth kind of sewed together, speak no evil. And then this one kind of has almost its eyes closed shut, see no evil. I thought that was a very interesting observation that you guys made, well, that Julie made. And I've been thinking about it more and more. And the more I think about it, the more I think she might be right. Maybe this is some kind of weird representation of see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. I just thought that was a very interesting observation. Again, I love the kind of Batman level detective style stuff you guys are doing in the Discord. Absolutely impressive. But yeah, what exactly are these totems? What are they going to represent? What purpose are they going to play on the story? I don't know, but they are definitely one of the more interesting aspects to the Season 3 trailers. I cannot wait to see what these things are and what they are really for. That should be fun. That should be fun. The dimension is sentient and communicates by being the boy. Maybe that's it. Maybe the boy is the kind of living embodiment of this place's consciousness. Because as you mentioned, Sweet Pea, I 100% agree with you too. This place is sentient. This isn't your normal average run-of-the-mill town. This place seems to have a consciousness or a sentience of its own. And yeah, maybe the boy in white is the kind of physical manifestation of that consciousness. That's interesting. I like that. I like that theory. I like that theory a lot, actually. Good stuff. I think everyone Jade has seen is one of his past life versions of himself. Ooh, okay, Susie. Okay. I like that. I like that. I mean, yeah, he's clearly seeing Christopher, and we know Christopher was plagued with the same symbol. But yeah, what if the Civil War soldier was also seeing the same symbol? And what if this dude drinking out of the skull was also seeing the same symbol as well? I like that. I like your thinking, Susie. That's interesting. Like maybe these are past versions of Jade, the past versions that were playing the same role that he is now playing. I like that. I like that. That is a good one. That is a really good one. Yeah. Good shit. Very good shit. And again, it could very well fit. It could definitely very well fit. Yeah, nice one, right? Hell yeah, nice, Susie. I like that one. That's a really good one. I hadn't heard that one before. I like it though. Now that I think about it, it makes perfect sense. Good stuff. Very good stuff. And that's what's so fun about these discussions. I mean, we're all watching the same show, but we all see the same show through totally different eyes. And that's what makes humans unique. We're all incredibly unique and complex creatures. None of us see the same thing in exactly the same way. We all kind of interpret media in our own way. So it's always fun to kind of come together and have these discussions and see how we are analyzing the same show and what different approaches we are taking to analyze the same show. But yeah, that was a good one. That is a good one. I like it. I like it. Let's see what else we got. Dieter says maybe the village they find is a way to go further, stay there for a night and move on. And that's a very good point as well. I mean, if they are going to venture out into the forest a little bit more, obviously they need a talisman with them, but they also need, a quick structure that they could kind of throw up to use the talisman in, which isn't going to be easy. But if they make it as far as this other settlement, they could easily kind of rest there for a night and continue on. That's something that they could easily fortify if they had a talisman. So that's an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought indeed. I like it. I like it. He helped Victor to survive. Ethan is Victor's replacement. Oof. Yes. Yes. And I mean, wouldn't that be kind of a strange and tragic kind of turn of events if Ethan is Victor's replacement? That stands to reason that maybe Victor needs to die for Ethan to become, quote unquote, the next Victor, which could be pretty sad in the long run. I like that, though. That's an interesting one. It's a very interesting one. You guys are killing it tonight. You guys always kill it, but man, you guys are killing it tonight. I like it. I like it. Let's see what else we got. Tabitha pointed out that Ethan is healing faster than he should, so it is important. I think, yeah, and I think it's going to play some sort of role. It seems like it's kind of a too specific thing to just be a coincidence. Because, yeah, like you said, I mean, the healing has been incredibly fast for some of these characters, Ethan and Ellis in particular. Yeah, they seem to be healing a lot faster, for sure. Lunchbox most likely has Victor's address on it. Yeah, it very well could. Absolutely, Jay Reddy. It very well could have his lunchbox, especially that this was his lunchbox since he was a child. A lot of parents used to do that to their kids' lunchbox. They would write their name and the address like on the inside of the lunchbox, just in case it ever got lost or something like that. You have a place to return it to. So no, that's an interesting idea. Maybe Tabitha will discover some kind of date inside this lunchbox or on this lunchbox, and that will point her in the right direction of that house that she maybe finds. That's an interesting idea. I like that. I like that a lot. That's a good one. That's a very good one. I got a bad paper cut once and almost had to call out of work. Hey, any excuse to get a day off of work, right? Any excuse to have a day off. I like it. I like it. Yeah, have we considered that Ellis may be the Wolverine? It's possible, Admiral. It is possible. He does have a healing factor of times 10, for sure. For sure. Indeed. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, Lost and From have similar plot points. They really do, don't they? Like they're incredibly similar. Not only are they very much heavily steeped in a mystery box style of storytelling, but even when you go a little bit deeper, like you said, when you see some of the plot outlines, some of the narratives, some of the similarities, there is so, like, these two shows overlap in so many ways. That's why I always try to say, anyone who's a From fan that hasn't seen Lost, go back and watch Lost. I promise you, you will probably like it. Maybe not. I can't speak for everybody, but most From fans tend to like Lost as well, from what I've seen anyway. Great show. Great show. Let's see what else we got. Victor told Ethan they were both chosen, same role. Tabitha seems to parallel Miranda. Will Julie parallel Eloise? Ooh, interesting. Could Julie potentially be paralleling Eloise? That's an interesting thought. That is an interesting thought. And I suppose anything is possible. There's still so much we don't know about Eloise's true path, what really happened to Eloise. I mean, we see the kind of surrounding evidence that might point to her maybe escaping, maybe in a similar way that Tabitha did, but we don't know for sure. We don't really know what happened to Eloise. There's a lot of great theories out there, but we don't have anything 100% definitive until we see it on the show. But I like that. I like that. I like that maybe we can. I like that maybe that is that's what's happening. They're chosen, quote unquote, chosen, because I do think that is similar as to what is going on here. Oh, we got some timeouts happening in the chat, guys. Let's try not to time out each other. I'm sure it was probably just an accident, but yeah, let's not do that. I know it was probably an accident, Admiral, but try not to time anybody out hitting a button by mistake. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Okay. Should be back. Should be back. Yeah, no timeouts. No timeouts, guys. Unless someone is like really trying to be an asshole or really trying to like harm the channel, there's no need to time anybody out. But I know accidents happen sometimes. But yeah, try not to let that happen in the future. All right, let's see where else we were. Otherwise, it shrivels up anchor person like Victor or Ethan or Deadpool versus Wolverine, maybe. Yeah, the healing factor is off the charts. Off the charts. She tells Victor to hide where Christopher doesn't know because he is in league with the evils, and that seems to be what they're kind of hinting at. It's very weird how, like you said, Victor's mother specifically says to Victor, find somewhere to hide where Victor can't find you. I mean, where Christopher can't find you. And yeah, it's like, okay, why exactly are you specifically hiding from Christopher? Was Christopher potentially corrupted by this symbol? Like, we know Christopher was seeing this symbol just like Jade is seeing it now. Was Christopher maybe unlucky and he didn't manage to solve it, and it ended up corrupting him in some way, that he ended up helping the monsters the day of the massacre? Was Christopher the one who showed the monsters all the hiding spots so they could kill everybody in town? Yeah, I don't know. We still have no idea what is going on with Christopher and what the symbol ultimately did to him. We hear some surrounding evidence from Victor saying that at one point Christopher was a very pleasant individual. He used to make people laugh, and laughter was not always easy to come by in those days. This is pre-talisman days, remind you. So they didn't have this kind of safe town that they could just sleep in at night back then. So to make someone laugh under those circumstances was a rarity, the way Victor described it. And then all of a sudden, Victor says they noticed a change in Christopher. He started to change. He went a little bit dark. And why is that? What exactly changed Christopher? Now, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is the symbol. Maybe the symbol physically corrupted Christopher and changed him because he wasn't able to solve the mystery or the riddle of it. And maybe Jade is going to be going down a similar trajectory. If Jade doesn't solve what this symbol means, could he potentially go mad too? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, we need to learn a little bit more about Christopher. We gotta learn a little bit more about Christopher and the symbol. And I hope we will. I hope we will. Fromland is a prison. Yes, I love this theory as well. I actually did a video on this theory back during season 2 as well. It's one of my favorite videos I did on the channel. Asked Frank about getting sent to the hole, the box. Tabitha got out and a cop brought her back. LOL. Interesting. Interesting. But no, I've thought about that as well in terms of maybe Fromville being one giant supernatural prison. Maybe this place, that's exactly the purpose of this place. Maybe it was meant to be a prison to keep these monsters locked away, to keep these other weird entities locked away. We hear from Martin that the monsters aren't the worst thing out there, that they are only, quote unquote, the tip of the spear. And if that is the case, we need to find out what is making up the rest of this spear. What other threats are out there that we haven't been introduced to yet? And the more that you look at it, the more that you see all of these different and weird evil entities and creatures that are getting thrown at the townsfolk, yeah, you start to think, could Fromville be one giant supernatural prison that is keeping all of these monsters and entities at bay? I love it. I love that. I love the theory that this is one giant kind of prison of sorts, maybe, and that's its purpose, to kind of keep these evil entities and these evil spirits away from the outside world. Interesting, and it could be. It could very well be. I love that theory in terms of Fromville being one giant prison. Hey, CJ, I keep asking people who was in the ambulance. Yes, the ambulance. Now, it looks like we have 2 characters arriving in the ambulance, but it looks like only one of them is going to survive. Now, here we see the ambulance arriving at night, and in the background here on the ground, we see the ambulance, most likely the ambulance driver or the EMT, seems to already be dead. So whoever arrives in this ambulance, we know at the very least they have announced a new character named Acosta. and that is the female cop that we see in the trailer. So when the ambulance arrives, not only do we have the driver of the ambulance, the EMT, who clearly gets taken off of the board rather quickly, but we also have this cop named Acosta. She is also going to be in the ambulance. Now, if a cop is in an ambulance, that there's usually a reason why a cop would be traveling with an ambulance to the hospital. And that's because whoever the ambulance is taking to the hospital is someone that is under arrest, or at least under police supervision. So you start to wonder who else is potentially in this ambulance. Is it just the cop and the ambulance driver? Or could there potentially be another person in the back of that ambulance that the cop was potentially guarding? I don't know. I cannot wait to see. But at the very least, we do know that we are getting this new character from the ambulance, this cop named Acosta. And thanks to Julie Barbra's awesome detective work, analyzing the patch on her shoulder and comparing it to the Camden Police Department, it looks like she is from Camden as well. Which, of course, has been the huge fan theory ever since season 2 ended. A lot of people seem to think Tabitha is in the real world and she is in Camden. Based on the view outside of the hospital window, it does look a lot like Camden. So, yeah, maybe we are going to find out exactly what's going on and who this Acosta cop is and what kind of connections is she going to have to the people of Fromville. Because, again, it doesn't seem like people get brought here at random. It seems like the people that get stuck here are being brought here for a specific reason. I don't think it's just randomly pulling people into here. So if that is the case, why exactly is Acosta here now? I don't know. I don't know, but I cannot wait to see this ambulance arrive. I think that's going to be a very, very fun scene. Very fun scene. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. I think Christopher wasn't haunted, but originated the symbol. Okay, like Christopher was the first one to draw the symbol, maybe. I suppose that's possible. I suppose it's possible. I tend to think it was probably similar to Jade. I think Christopher was probably just the next that was plagued with the visions of the symbol. But was he the first one to come up with it? I don't know. It's possible, I suppose. I think he was probably just one in a line of many. But yeah, it could have originated with him. That's certainly possible. There's just so much we don't know about it yet. We do see that symbol down in the cave walls, down in the caves under the town. And when I saw that, that is what instantly made me think that this symbol is old, much older than just Christopher and Victor's time period. Because, again, it seems like at least Victor is under the assumption that the monster put that symbol on that cave wall. We hear Victor say, look, the monsters make drawings too. So if the monsters did draw that symbol on that wall, when exactly did they do it? And how long has this symbol been around for? That's kind of what leads me to believe that it's probably been around quite a while. But yeah, there's still so much about it we don't know. Still so much about it we just don't know. If it was like a pocket of trauma coalesced into a bubble and became aware of itself, it's afraid to die too. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Almost like it gained sentience and now it's afraid to die, or afraid to be alone too. Maybe that's why it keeps pulling people into Fromville, because it doesn't want to die and it doesn't want to be alone, maybe. And maybe that's why it's so strict about people trying to escape. We see very early on in season 1 the theory from Nathan, Sarah's brother, that if people try too hard to escape here, something will quote unquote push back. So I like where you're going, Sweet Pea. I like where you're going with that maybe this thing is a sentient being now. It's got an actual sentience to it. And it does seem like that is the case. Whatever this forest is, whatever from quote unquote Fromville is, it does seem to have its own kind of consciousness, for lack of better terms. It's capable of getting angry even, according to the boy in white. This place is angry because they were trying to escape. And in turn, it sends that nasty storm towards Colony House to destroy the radio tower. So yeah, it does seem like this place is alive. It definitely seems like it's got some sort of sentience to it. And maybe that's why it's pulling people in here. Maybe it just doesn't want to be alone. It's just a lonely old sentient town at the end of the day. That would be kind of anticlimactic, but would be kind of funny. Would be kind of funny. Let's see what else we got. What if dying in Fromville is the only way for you to escape? I feel the body Boyd is carrying is Tabitha. Now that's been a very interesting theory as well. And we did have that theory kind of brought up on the show itself not pretty early on in season 1, but I believe it's season 1, episode 8, when we finally get the episode to Boyd's flashback and how Boyd arrived in town. And we see the tragic story of what happened to Boyd's wife, Abby, and how Boyd was essentially forced to kill his own wife in order to save his son. Which is just a crazy decision in and of itself. I can only imagine what something like that would do to somebody. Being forced to kill your wife in order to save your son. Like, man, talk about the mother of all hard decisions. Like, holy shit, you can totally see why something like that has had lasting effects and lasting consequences on Boyd. But in terms of dying here and waking up in the real world, that's exactly what Abby thought. Whatever happened to Abby, whatever was influencing her, at some point she came under the assumption that you have to die in Fromville and you'll wake up in the real world. That's why she goes on her crazy shooting rampage to begin with. So yeah, here we are. Fast forwarded a whole season later, we see Tabitha going out of the window of the lighthouse, but we're not exactly sure what happened to her when she goes out of that window. Does she fall all the way to the ground? Does she fall into some weird kind of portal doorway thing that spits her out into the real world? We don't quite know. But I guess we will find out when season 3 comes around and we find out that, like you said, Tabitha's bodies may be laying there at the bottom of the lighthouse, and maybe Boyd and Jade are lugging Tabitha's body around. That could be very interesting. That'd be a very interesting twist, if nothing else. Yeah, I guess we'll find out. I guess we were going to find out. Those crows look like they were going to show us when Ethan stood on that tree. Yeah, that was pretty interesting, wasn't it? We see Ethan kind of standing on this tree, and where you see the crows starting all of a sudden getting very active. They're becoming very lively. But then Jim and the family quickly get out of there. But what exactly does that mean? What are these crows? What are the role that the crows are going to play to begin with? They definitely keep showing us these crows over and over and over again in tons of Victor's drawings. It's in the intro sequence. They're hitting us over the head with these dang crows. But what exactly do the crows mean? What role are these crows going to play on the show? That, I guess, has still been yet to be revealed. But hopefully we will find out. Hopefully we will find out. The symbol has 3 lines crossing each other, like the mingling worlds or crossing over from one world to the next. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. And yes, we do. We see each one of the symbols, and we see like 3 different variations of the same symbol where the 3 lines are going in different directions on each symbol. But yes, we do clearly see 3 distinct lines crossing over one another. And yeah, could that be a representation of worlds kind of crossing over with each other? Maybe there's certain circumstances that need to happen that align certain worlds with each other, that allows people to get stuck into Fromville because they're crossing a threshold at that point. And I have noticed one of the season 3 episode titles is called Threshold. So yeah, maybe you're onto something there, Glue Guns. Maybe you are onto something there. I like it. I like it. I thought before the season 3 trailer that the hospital Tabitha was held in was more sinister, but seeing Tabitha in different places in the trailer, do you think it was just a regular hospital? I do. I do think it was just a regular hospital. But I've kind of thought that since the very beginning, and that's one thing that's great about the show. I love seeing all the different theories that kind of pop up in the wake of season 2, where a lot of people thought that this was some kind of fake hospital, that she was still trapped in Fromville somewhere else. I think it was commonly being referred to as Tabitha is in Fromville 2.0, which is an interesting theory. Don't get me wrong. I think that is a very cool and interesting idea. But just from a pure writing standpoint, I always thought it just made a little bit more sense to have Tabitha be in the real world. And I do agree with you. I do think the season 3 trailer kind of all but confirms that she is in the real world. At least that's what I think. I mean, I could be totally wrong again. But yeah, I don't think the hospital is sinister. I think it kind of presents itself as a little bit, shady and dicey at first. You see the doctor come in who's a little bit cagey, doesn't really give a whole lot of information. You see that symbol on the computer monitor, which looks awfully similar to the symbol that Jade has been seeing. So there are some weird occurrences in that hospital. So I totally understand people thinking that it might not be real. There is some weird stuff going on there. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's just a regular hospital. I don't think it's anything more. But I guess we will find out. I guess we will find out. Let's see what else we got. I'm sure it's a regular hospital, says Daryl. Awesome, awesome. I personally think Tabitha is in a real hospital in the real world. Yeah, I tend to think that's probably what's happening too, for sure. I am late, but here. What is up, DA Stellar Napster? Good to see you, my friend. I hope you are doing well. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I would have thought different without the trailer to see season 3. And again, I can definitely understand that. Like, before we actually saw the trailer, I totally understood why people might have thought she's not really in the real world. But yes, once you see the season 3 trailer, I feel like it kind of gives that away. Like, it's kind of pointing a little bit more that she is in the real world. Yes. And that's the thing about trailers. I love trailers. Like, I love seeing a new trailer for a new show. And what is up? Hello from Sweden. Welcome, 90s baby. Good to have you in the chat. And a big hello and welcome to each and every one of you, wherever you guys are tuning in from, whether it's here in the States or somewhere abroad. Welcome one, welcome all. It's always fun to see where people are tuning in from. All the way from Sweden. Wow. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you for that. I very much appreciate that. Very much appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, it's always good to see where you guys are tuning in from. I'm always super impressed to see how far this little show has kind of spread. And it's just always awesome to see where you guys are kind of, again, tuning in from. But yeah, in terms of the hospital, I tend to agree with a lot of you in the chat. I do think the hospital is real. I don't think it's some kind of level 2 area of Fromville. Seems to be like a regular hospital, and Tabitha is back in the real world. That's what I think anyway. But again, could be wrong, and we will certainly find out sooner or later as we get closer and closer to September 22nd. Ladies and gentlemen, just around the corner now. We are less than 1 month away for the From Season 3 premiere. And I can't wait. I cannot wait. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling down, if you must die to escape Fromville, then it proves it is a simulation. There would definitely be some more evidence for the simulation, absolutely. And again, there has been some kind of small evidence out there that could potentially point to this thing maybe being one giant simulated world. And something like that, yeah, I mean, if you die in Fromville and that does spit you out into the real world, that could be some very strong evidence for this being a simulation. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess we'll find out. I guess we shall find out. Maze, that would be a twist, but the funeral would have the kids up front. Ooh, yeah, interesting. Interesting. I think the lighthouse is the entrance to a portal, like the road with the tree is the portal to From. The lighthouse might also move like the tree road moves from state to state. Ooh, interesting. Almost like the entrance to Fromville is maybe, like you said, moving from state to state. That could potentially explain why people are getting sucked in here from totally different parts of the map. That's interesting. I like that. In terms of the lighthouse maybe moving, I also have kind of thought that as well. It's crossed my mind. Again, I always try to compare things to Lost. I'm trying not to compare it too much to Lost. But this show and Lost share so many similarities that I can't help but compare it every once in a while. And that was a big theme on Lost, was things moving inexplicably. So yeah, I wonder if the lighthouse itself could potentially actually move. I mean, you look at the location of the lighthouse, and it's super fucking strange. Like, it's in the strangest spot. It's out there in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods. It doesn't look like there's any body of water around the lighthouse. When Tabitha gets up there to the top of the lighthouse, We don't get a full 360-degree view of everything around her, but we do get a pretty decent view of the surrounding area and the landscape surrounding her. And it doesn't look like there's a body of water anywhere. And could that potentially explain it? Could the lighthouse itself potentially move? Because as we see here, doesn't look to be any body of water in this scene.
I'm cooling.
I'm sorry. I really am. This is the only way.
Oof, 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 oof. Now, again, we don't get a full 360-degree view of everything up there, but we get a pretty decent view of a lot of it. And yeah, it doesn't look like there is a single body of water anywhere near that lighthouse. And maybe that's the reason. Maybe the lighthouse physically moves. And we've seen the show kind of set things up like that already, where Victor is very much convinced that the trees themselves are physically moving. Maybe the trees aren't the only thing that's moving. So yeah, I like that theory. I like that. What if Tabitha is in the real world and she finds Victor's sister and possibly Victor's father? Maybe Victor's mom helped his sister escape to the real world. And I tend to think that's what happened to Victor's mother. Victor describes finding his mother's dead body right next to the bottle Farway tree that leads to the lighthouse. And I get the feeling something bad was happening. Maybe the monsters were closing in on them and they only had enough time to get one of them into the faraway tree, and Victor's mother sacrificed herself to get Eloise into the tree, and then maybe Eloise went on to escape the same way Tabitha did. That's kind of how I think things may have happened. And in terms of Tabitha meeting Eloise in the real world, I really hope that's the case. And you guys have heard me probably say it a million times now. I know I sound like a broken record, but I do think that's specifically why the writers put Victor's lunchbox in Tabitha's possession. Because I do think if Eloise sees that lunchbox, she'll recognize it instantly. And that could be the perfect kind of catalyst that brings Eloise and Tabitha together. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, FM Honey. I think that could potentially be what's happening. Crows gather around food. Maybe after the monsters are done with victims, they are left to the crow. Ooh, interesting. That's interesting. And we do get that one scene at the beginning of season 2 when Tabitha and Victor are still down in those caves, when they're navigating through the caves to get out. We see that one scene and we see one of the rats eating one of the crows. And I always thought that was very interesting. I always had a feeling that that was some kind of foreshadowing for something that will get explained a little bit more later down the line. Because, yeah, we see one of those crows getting eaten by one of the rats. And what exactly is that trying to signify, I wonder? But yeah, the crows are a huge, huge question mark up until this point. What are the crows for? What purpose are the crows going to serve within the story? Hopefully we find out soon. Hopefully we find out soon. I feel like the symbol is lock, and Christopher figured out how to pick it. Ooh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you think about all of the mysterious aspects in this show that we still know absolutely nothing about. Christopher, the symbol, the monsters. It's one giant question mark. So I really am very excited by some of the creators' statements heading into season 3 that it looks like we are finally going to get some answers to some of these mysteries, especially with the whole true nature of the town coming into focus. I cannot wait to see what they mean by that. But yeah, Interesting stuff. Maybe we're going to get some of the answers to some of these bigger mysteries. Tabitha falls through a portal, or thinny, as Stephen King calls them, when she fell from the lighthouse. I mean, that's the kind of vibe I got, almost like a Matrix-style portal that she falls through. Anyone who's seen The Matrix, you see that Neo famously has to jump off that building, and he kind of flies right into a portal, and that gets him out. That's kind of what popped into mind to me when I saw her fall out of that lighthouse. Like, is she actually falling into some kind of doorway portal type thing on her way down while she's falling? Maybe, I don't know. Or who knows? Like, again, maybe the theory of her body being down there at the bottom of the lighthouse is true. Maybe you have to die in this place in order to escape. Maybe, who knows? But I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. And yeah, Tabitha ended up in the exact town that Eloise came out. Tabitha is in the town that Victor's family is from. F-R-O-M. Yes. So, and that's the thing. A lot of us have been wondering, like, what exactly is the title of the show trying to tell us? F-R-O-M. From. Maybe you've just cracked part of it. Maybe you have just cracked part of it. I like it. I like it. Good stuff. Could the prisoner in the ambulance be Victor's insane sister? Oh, wow. I didn't really think of that. But that's kind of interesting. Like, maybe could this be how Eloise finds her way back in Fromville? She's the freaking prisoner that's in the back of the ambulance? That could be hectic. That would be pretty hectic. It'd be pretty ironic, too, if nothing else. But yeah, who knows? Yeah, maybe. It could be. It very well could be. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's see what else we got. We see a super chat there. Let me grab this real quick. Thank you so much, Distellar Napster, for the $5. Please check out the Changeling. I'd love this group's input. This YouTube/group and Discord would enjoy its season 1 breakdown. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of people have been recommending that show to me recently, and I'm going to watch it. There's been more than enough of you that have been requesting some kind of Changeling topics, so I am going to watch it. I'm going to check out the season, and as soon as I'm done watching it, yeah, we can definitely talk about it, because so many of you have been recommending that show to me. Like, that's probably the most recommended show I've been getting lately. So yeah, I'm going to check it out. I'm definitely going to check it out. I am going to see what all the fuss is about. Again, I love finding new series. Love finding new series. But yeah, I'm going to check it out. I will check out the Changeling. Pretty interesting stuff. I will check it out. Maybe Sophia, those last 2 or 3 on cooies sounds were made by him to get her upstairs. Yes, Darren boy. I definitely think that when we hear the on cooey as Tabitha is going up to the lighthouse, I think that is the boy in white trying to lure her up. Definitely seems like that is the case, because we know that is exactly why Tabitha went to the lighthouse in the first place. She went there to find the Ankui children. So what is the best way to lure Tabitha all the way to the top? Make it sound like the Ankui children are up there. So yeah, I definitely think that was the boy in white luring her up to the top, for sure. For sure. Because the writers have said a lot of stuff about how it will mean different things for everyone. Like are we all in different dimensions in a way? And yeah, I mean, that's the thing about really complex and shows that kind of end on a little bit more of an ambiguous note. It leaves the ending open to interpretation based on the viewer. And again, one person can get something totally different out of a series than the person next to you. And that's what's great about storytelling. And that's why sometimes I do enjoy an ending that could be a little bit ambiguous and it's open for interpretation, because it opens up a very interesting discussion of the fans of that show, where they can kind of compare and contrast what they think the ending means, what you think the ending means, and where you're similar, where you differ. So I'm not opposed to a ambiguous ending from time to time that does maybe leave a thing or two kind of open-ended. I'm totally cool with that, because it creates a really good discussion around those things. But yeah, I got to hand it to the writers in terms of them weaving such a complex and compelling narrative around this show. They're killing it. They are killing it. In my opinion, I believe everyone enters Fromville through a quote unquote thin spot between the home dimension and this pocket dimension. And when they see the tree, it's in the liminal space between neither here nor there. So almost like when they see the tree, that could be almost, for lack of a better term, the threshold. And again, we keep seeing that freaking threshold name pop up all over the place. And threshold just happens to be one of the names of the season 3 titles. Thresholds. Season 3, episode 7 is entitled Thresholds. So yeah, maybe you're onto something there, Julie. Maybe you are onto something there. I like it. I like it. And yeah, we'll go over these episode titles real quick. I know we went over them once before, but I am totally down for going over them again. I love the season 3 kind of description synopsis that they have been giving us. The weather grows colder, food is scarce, and every day is more difficult than the last. Season 3 brings a host of new terrors and startling revelations. There's that revelation word again. But will the fight for survival force the residents of the town to sacrifice the very humanity that sets them apart from the monsters they fear? I love this synopsis because it gives us instant callbacks to some of the episode titles and, of course, what the season is going to be about. But obviously, the first thing that kind of stuck out for me is a host of new terrors. And I think a lot of us have been wondering, are we going to get some new monsters on the show? Are we going to get some new villains on the show, some new threats? It looks like we are. It looks like we do have some new terrors, for lack of a better term, coming in season 3. And I am so pumped to see what these new terrors are going to be. And startling revelations. That is great because it does look like we are going to be getting some decent answers in season 3. They are finally kicking open that door and they are finally going to reveal some big things in season 3, it seems. And maybe, again, maybe that's the revelations, startling revelations, is in reference to the final 3 episodes, which seem to be titled Revelations Chapter 1, Revelations chapter 2, and again, Revelations chapter 2. So it does seem like we have some big reveals that are going to be coming within the final 3 episodes of season 2. And I cannot wait to see what these reveals are. Cannot wait. Hell yes. Hell yes, guys. We are getting, again, everybody has been recommending the show. The Changeling was awesome until they ruined the ending. Oh no, they ruined the ending, Julie. That's not fun. That's not fun. I'm gonna check it out though. Again, I'm definitely gonna check it out. There's been more than enough people that have been requesting some Changeling topic discussions. So at the very least, I'm gonna watch it and give it a show. Give it a try. Give it the old college try, I guess. Changeling, just don't expect much with the ending, says FML. That's 2 people. All right, so maybe the ending isn't as good as the rest of the show. It happens sometimes. It happens sometimes. But yeah, I am going to check it out for sure. For sure. Did we establish that the underskin worms were the larvae that transform into those flying bug things? It seems like that was the case, yes. Again, the show leaves some details on that a little bit ambiguous, but considering that Boyd gave the worms to Smiley, and then considering that the cicadas kind of morphed from Smiley's body, it stands to reason that, yes, one came from the other. So I do think that is the case. I do think they came from Smiley's body. I did not like that show. The Changeling was good until the last 2 or so episodes. I didn't even finish the last episode. Oh, wow. So we're seeing a theme here. It seems like it starts off good, but maybe doesn't end so well. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check it out, and we'll see what it has to offer. We shall see what it has to offer. Also, Tabitha wasn't supposed to exit via the caves. Victor said, no, 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 he didn't tell me to come this way. Tabitha went the wrong way. Where did the boy in white originally intend for them to end up? Ooh, that's an interesting point. That is an interesting point, Darren Boy, because yes, Victor does specifically say the boy in white didn't tell me to go this way. And whatever way they ended up going ended up being the right way because they ended up finding the way out. But if the boy in white wasn't sending them to that exit, where was he sending them? Where did he originally want them to go? That's an interesting question, Darren. That's a very interesting question. And I must say, I don't have an answer for it. I don't have an answer for it myself, but add that to the list of things that are just incredibly sus when it comes to the boy in white and trying to understand his motivations. We have no idea what his end game is or whose side he's on. So no, it's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. Good stuff. Let's see what else we got. What is up, Vic? Good to see you, my friend. Hey, y'all, I missed the live. Womp womp. Just got home from dinner. Well, welcome. So glad to have you here. And yeah, hey, better late than never. Late is better than never. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If the voice on the phone with Jim is also the voice on the radio, and that voice is the man, and the voice is the man in white / boy in white because he saw Tabby dig and pushed out of the window. Ooh, interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Yeah, we know that the boy in white must have known that Tabitha was digging that hole. The boy in white told Victor to wait for Tabitha down there in those caves. So the boy in white seemed to know that Tabitha was going to fall into those caves before it even happened. So could he potentially be behind the voice on the other end of the radio as well? Gosh, at this point, I suppose anything's possible. We know that he's not really a boy. He might present himself as a child, but we know that this thing is decades or maybe even centuries old. So if that is the case, is he capable of taking on other forms than just the boy in white? Is he able to kind of present himself in multiple different forms? And if that is the case, could he potentially be the voice? I suppose it's possible. I suppose it's possible. Interesting, interesting stuff. Do we get 5 or more seasons of From? Now, that is a great question. That is a great question indeed. I'm not quite sure how many seasons we're going to get. I get the feeling we'll probably at least get 5. Like, based on everything that they have set up until this point, I get the feeling at the very least they're going to need another 3 seasons to kind of flesh out all of these mysteries and answer everything and have the story progress. So if I had to guess, I imagine we'll probably at least get around 5 seasons, maybe 6, maybe 5 or 6 seasons around there. But yeah, who knows? That's the thing. Nobody knows where this thing is going and where it's going to end other than Jeff Pinker and John Griffin, it seems. They are the only two that really know where this thing is going. Even the actors have no idea what is coming in season 4. The actors are only given enough information that they need to know to film their scenes. The writers don't give them any future information as to where this show is going to go. So not even the actors know how this thing is going to end. So that it begs the question, how many seasons are they going to need to properly tell this story? Based on all the mystery aspects and all of they seem to be foreshadowing things that probably won't pay off until multiple seasons. So yes, I'm expecting at least 5, maybe 6 seasons or so. But I'll put that question to you guys in the chat. How many seasons do you think we will get of From, and how many seasons do you want to get? Do you think there is such a thing as too many seasons? For me, I've always been of a mind of give a show as many seasons as it needs to tell the story, no more, no less. Because we have seen what happens to other shows that kind of extend that past its expiration date. It can sometimes dampen the quality of the show. I feel like Walking Dead is a really good example of that the show just went on for way too long and it really started to drop in quality, at least for me personally. But yeah, how many seasons of From do you guys think we are going to get, and how many seasons do you want to get is the question. Let me know. We also got a $5 super chat from Michael DJ. Thank you so much, Michael, for the $5. If you favor a simulation theory, check out the film The 13th Floor, 1999, all about characters to figure out what's going on. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I've never seen 13th Floor. I've heard of it, but I've never actually sat down and watched that movie. I'll check it out, though. I will check it out. I'll definitely check it out. And thank you so much, Michael, for the $5. And chat, you know what that means. A woe is on the way. Cover your ears, folks. Here comes the woe.
Whoa!
Interesting. Yeah, how many seasons are we going to get of From? I hope 6 seasons too, longer, only if it's not too empty in between. And that's kind of my thinking as well. Like, if they need more than 6 and the storytelling is going to remain the same high quality as the previous seasons, then yeah, give them as many seasons as they need to properly tell the story. But don't go beyond that. Don't try to stretch this thing past what it was originally intended, because that is when you see quality severely start to drop off, at least in my experience. That's what I've seen in some series. But no, yeah, 6 sounds about right. 5 seasons is good enough for me, says Wolf Spear. Yeah, I'd be cool with 5 too. I'd be totally cool with 5 or 6, really. Susie says 5 seasons as well. Awesome. I like it. Yeah, 5 or 6 seasons seems to be the consensus. They said they have a story for 3 to 5 seasons, but 1 season a year. Yes, 6 seasons will be great. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I think 6 would be good. Again, 5, 6, right around there seems like a sweet spot. If you were one of the monsters, which one would you choose to be, and what strategy would you use to convince someone to open the door for you? Oh, wow. Tough question. Great question, too. Damn. If I could be any monster, who would it be? I mean, part of me would kind of want to be Smiley Monster just for how freaking creepy he is. I mean, I really miss the Smiley Monster on the show. He was my favorite monster personally, and he was definitely the most distinctive and certainly most recognizable monster. And although he's gone from the show, he will never be gone from our streams. Smiley will always be shining down and keeping an eye on the chat. Smiley would be a cool one. Cowboy Monster might be a cool one. It seems like Cowboy Monster is going to have some pretty interesting scenes in season 3 in particular. Yeah, I don't know. Man, I don't know. What monster would I want to be and what tactic would I use? I mean, I feel like the Jasmine tactic is probably going to be the most effective. We saw the tactic that Jasmine employs to Colony House in season 1 in terms of making it seem like she's this monster that doesn't want to be this way. It wasn't her choice to be like this. She's falling in love with a human, manipulating the hell out of him to get him to open the window. That seems like a pretty sound strategy, especially when you look at Fromville as a whole and Colony House and Fromville as a whole. I imagine there's not a whole lot of partners out there that one can choose from. So all of a sudden, this incredibly beautiful monster starts coming to your window every night and is convincing you that she's not like the rest of the monsters. That's an effective tool. Like, that's a very effective manipulation tool. So yeah, maybe the Jasmine manipulation tool might be the one that would yield the most results. So yeah, I'd probably go with that one. Interesting. That's a very awesome question too. Like, I had to really think about that one. That was a really cool question. But yeah, what about you guys? What monster, if you could be any monster on the show, what monster would you be? And what tactics would you employ to get people to let you in? I guess we'll have to find out. Granny Monster, because you can fly, says FML. Yeah, we still have no idea how Granny Monster got up on that roof. And we really have no idea what these things are capable of. We know that they walk all the time, but I get the feeling they're at least capable of much quicker movement. We saw how fast that one monster killed Father Cautry. We saw how fast that other monster dove on Tom underneath the house. So although they present themselves like they're these slow-walking monsters, I definitely think they're at least capable of some very impressive feats of agility. So yeah, I mean, how else is this monster getting on that roof? I don't know if they fly per se. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but I don't know if they can necessarily just kind of fly. I get the feeling they're probably just very agile and probably climb up onto that roof with ease, maybe, or just straight up jump onto it. We have no idea how strong these things are, but they seem to be much stronger than regular humans. So no, that's an interesting one. Yeah, maybe becoming the Granny Monster and flying up onto a roof. If we see Granny Monster fucking Mary Poppinsing her way from house to house at one point, I'm gonna fucking lose it. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? We have no idea how how agile the monsters really are. I guess we'll find out. I'd be Jasmine's boyfriend monster, says Michael Diche. There you go. There you go. Long live Smiley. Yes. Long live Smiley. I love it. I love it. Soap says, I would be a sexy monster in order to get some poor schmuck at Colony House to open the window. There you go, Soap. See, I'm telling you, like, it seems like that would be the most effective method. It seems like that method would probably yield more results than just trying to sweet talk your way in or manipulate your way in like the Granny Monster does. Yeah, I mean, use some seduction. Humans, you know, they're susceptible to that kind of thing. They are susceptible to that kind of thing, for sure. For sure. All right, let's see what else we got. Do you think Sarah will ever get a chance to redeem herself? She has the that power that people are trying to utilize. I do. I definitely think Sarah will find some kind of redemption. I feel like she is in the middle of her redemption arc. And the only reason why I say that is because Sarah genuinely feels like she feels very bad for everything she's done. Like, yes, she's done some very heinous things, some things that can arguably not even really be forgiven, you know, considering what she did to Kenny and his family and to Toby. She's done some very dark things. And what she almost did to Ethan, she almost killed a child with her bare hands because a weird voice told her to do it. So yeah, Sarah definitely has a lot to make up for, but I do think redemption is possible. And I wouldn't be too surprised if Sarah's story ultimately ends with her maybe sacrificing herself for a member of the Matthews family, or maybe even Ethan. I feel like that would bring her character arc kind of full circle if Sarah does redeem herself by sacrificing herself to save Ethan. I just feel like that's a very fitting end for her character, and that would give her the redemption that she was seeking. I think, anyway. I think. And again, based off the season 3 trailer, it does look like we have Sarah coming to Ethan and Julie's rescue. When Ethan opens up the door to the Granny Monster, later on in the trailer, we see Ethan and Julie running outside. And it looks like Sarah grabs them up and keeps them safe, for lack of a better term. Let me see. Let's pull that up and take a look. I'll show you what I mean. Because here we have, what's his name, opening the door. Okay, we got Ethan opening up the door. Why he opens up the door, we still don't really quite know. But something convinced him to open up this door that it was safe. And again, maybe it was the Granny Monster mimicking Tabitha's voice. The next thing we know, we see Julie and Ethan try to run away. The Granny Monster comes in, and we see Julie and Ethan run to the back door. This is them running to the back door and running outside. And then a little bit later on in the trailer, we see Julie outside, and here we see Sarah's hair. So it looks like Julie and Ethan, after letting the Granny Monster in, they run outside, out the back door, and it looks like they run smack dab into Sarah, and here we see Sarah holding Ethan. We can see Ethan's head right there, Ethan's hair. This is clearly Ethan based on the height. and the hair looks just like his hair. So clearly, Sarah seems to be coming to Julie and Ethan's rescue once Granny Monster gets in. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this could ultimately be, not in this scene per se, but maybe in a later season down the road, because I don't think Sarah's in any danger yet. I do think Sarah's not going to die anytime soon. I feel like she has a very important role to play on the show, especially considering she is the only one that can hear those voices. So I don't think Sarah is going to die in this season or in this scene, but I do think that could be the ultimate kind of ironic and redemptive ending for Sarah if she ultimately does die saving Ethan. It would just kind of bring things full circle. But if nothing else, it does look like she is coming to Ethan and Julie's defense here in season 3 once the Granny Monster gets let in. So I'm looking forward to seeing that scene. Looking forward to seeing how Sarah saves them, really. And yes, R.I.P. to Smiley. R.I.P. to Smiley. Gone, but never forgotten. Gone, but never forgotten. If I was a monster, I would pick Milkman Monster. I would I would over you chocolate milk and tell you to let me in. Maybe that'll work. Maybe that would work. Who knows? Who knows? I'm sure the people could be hankering for some good old chocolate milk here in Fromville. I know I would. And yeah, well, it looks like we are going to see the Milkman Monster. In the trailer, we see the Milkman Monster walk up to a cow, of all things. He's got a milkman and a freaking cow, if that's not a fitting match. Next thing you know, though, it looks like the milkman is killing the cow, absolutely dicing up the cow. And then Victor comes out of nowhere to grab Jade and take him to safety. But yeah, we got milkmen killing cows. Milkmen killing cows. So yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to in season 3, guys. We got a lot of stuff to look forward to. I would be the cheerleader monster and do personalized cheers for the From residents each night. I could rhyme their names and be up old dirty to annoy them in my cheers. Monsters know personal stuff. That's true, they do. Like, we know these monsters seem to know personal details about these people. So yeah, wouldn't that be incredibly freaky? You look outside your window at night and it's just the cheerleader monster just doing a cheer with your name and your personal details in it. That's enough to freak anybody out, I would imagine. So no, that's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah, the milkman is very creepy at night, isn't he? Yeah, he just looks creepy, doesn't he? He's just got that creepy look to him. That his smile is super creepy. I mean, all of their smiles are creepy, but his is very creepy. Like, yeah, the milkman dude is sus. He's super sus, super scary looking, for sure. Yeah, Granny Monster can do parkour. Yeah, maybe she's just a master at parkour, and she's just hopping up on these freaking roofs left and right. Because again, the very first time we see Granny Monster, yeah, she's up on that roof taking out Megan. How the heck did she get on that second-story roof? But then Jasmine as well. Jasmine was also on one of those roofs at Colony House as well. We see the window that Jasmine and Kevin were talking through. It was definitely a second or even a third-story window. So yeah, these monsters, maybe they're just very good at parkour. That's a possibility. That is a possibility. And yeah, but honestly, on a more serious note, yes, Daryl, I just think they're capable of climbing. They, just because they're very slow when we see them doesn't mean they're not capable of moving at faster speeds and showcasing much more agility. So yeah, I mean, with those claws and with their strength, I imagine they could probably climb up anything, really. So I get the feeling they're climbing too, for sure. They are probably climbing. Marielle says Boyd is sharing his nightmare with her, but that's more true than she meant. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, Mary Poppins Granny Monster. Yeah, that's all I thought of. Just Granny Monster floating around there like Mary Poppins on a freaking umbrella. It'd be an interesting sight, if nothing else. It would be an interesting sight, if nothing else. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, I'd rather see the doctor's girlfriend gone. Some of the new characters are not working. I mean, I know a lot of people want to see Marielle gone just for the simple fact that she butchered Christy's haircut. It seems like Marielle is one of the only characters that comes even close to getting the level of hate that Jim gets, to be honest. but yeah, I mean, in terms of some of the new characters that got introduced in season 2, I feel like some of them fit, but not all of them. Like Bacta, the bus driver character, that's one character I am dying to learn a little bit more about, and they didn't really give her a whole lot to do in season 2. Towards the end, they kind of brought her into the storyline by revealing that she was one of the only people that have heard that weird nursery rhyme before she got here in Fromville. But yeah, the bus driver Bacta, I really want to learn a little bit more about her. I get the feeling she's got a very interesting backstory. We get that really interesting scene between her and Jade when they're sitting at the bar together, and you can just tell she's been through some shit. So I hope we learn a little bit more about Bacta in season 2. But yeah, some of the other secondary characters, some characters work, some don't. Absolutely. Absolutely. K. Bruce says, I used to love the good glass bottles milkman would bring good stuff. Huh? Yeah, and honestly, like when milk used to be carried in glass, it was always 10 times colder too. Like it stayed so freaking cold as opposed to these plastic milk bottles that it comes in nowadays. Like if you have a glass pitcher at home, I'm telling you guys, pour your gallon of milk into the glass pitcher and leave it in that. The milk will always be incredibly cold when you go to drink it. But that's just me. I like my milk very cold personally. Maybe not everybody does. That's totally cool. That is totally cool. The milkman is my son's favorite monster. LOL. He is a cool one. I must say, he is a really cool looking monster. And that's one thing that's cool about all the monsters. I love how like they're so unique in terms of what they are. We have a milkman monster, we have nurse monsters, we have granny monsters, we have cheerleader monsters, we have wedding bride monsters, whole slew of different monsters out there. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see who are people's favorites. It seems like the favorites vary from fan to fan. But I think a lot of us really liked Smiley. Like Smiley was like the main monster at first, and it sucks to see him go. Sucks to see him go. Am I the only one who would love to know the backstory of some of these monsters? Absolutely not. I'm right there with you. I would love to learn a little bit more about these monsters' backstories. And I would love to even learn if they were human at one point, which we have seen some evidence pointing to these monsters were maybe human at one point. What were they like when they were human? Do they remember their human lives? Are they capable of holding on to any of their humanity? Will we at some point potentially encounter a good monster, a monster that was able to hold on to their humanity? Yeah, I'm right there with you. I really want them to explore the backstory on some of these monsters a little bit more. Let's find out what these things are, what happened to them, how did they become what they became, and what were they like as people before they became this? Because again, I think that could be a very interesting kind of thread to explore. I'm not really expecting it, but I would love to learn a little bit more about who they were as humans before they were monsters, and if it's even possible to, quote unquote, hold on to their humanity after becoming monsters. I feel like if they encounter a good monster on the show at some point, that could be an interesting kind of trope that they could play with. But yeah, I am all for it. I definitely want to learn a little bit more about the monsters. For sure. For sure. Let's see what else we got. We got Papa Socks for $5. Thank you so much for the 5. Very much appreciate that. The Smiley monster seems to age and die in a matter of seconds. Does that mean that the blood sped up the monster's metabolism? Yeah, it's very interesting to see the kind of the transition that the monster goes from when he does die. I don't know if it's as much as he ages or as he just kind of reverts to his full-on monster form, because when Boyd gives Smiley the blood, Smiley's in his regular human form. But as Smiley starts to die, we slowly see him transition into his monster form, to the point where when he's dead on the ground, he's kind of stuck in that monster form. And he's not in human form anymore. So I don't know if it was him just rapidly aging, or if that was just the show trying to showcase him turning into his monster form before he died. But that is one scene we can take a quick look at.
That's right. You want it? My blood is your blood now, motherfucker.
I like this game.
Man, R.I.P. Smiley, gone but never forgotten. But no, that's an interesting theory, Papa Socks, that maybe his metabolism just sped up incredibly fast. Could that potentially be why he has no blood and all of his organs are shriveled up on the inside? That's an interesting theory. I mean, we've really only ever seen the monsters' insides once they're already dead. But once the monsters are still alive, are their insides still all shriveled up like that? Or was that like a crazy rapid process that Smiley went through as he was dying? That is an interesting question, I guess. I hadn't really thought of it, but that is an interesting question. Yeah. And thank you so much for the 5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, it's just so many questions when it comes to this show. And I cannot wait for September 22nd to finally get here. I can't believe we are less than 1 month away from season 3, especially after how long we have been waiting between season 2 ending, the writers and actors strike happening, giving it a very much extended delay and an extended hiatus period. Now, here we are. We are finally on the cusp of From season 3 hitting our screens. And again, I could not be more excited. I am super pumped that we are diving back into the world of Fromville. This is my favorite show on TV right now by far. I cannot wait to see what they're going to be doing with this upcoming season, where some of these character storylines are going to be going. What will Jade find out about the symbol? Where exactly is that dog leading Boyd at the end of season 2? Where is Tabitha? Will she find a way back into the town? So many interesting storylines that we have to look forward to for season 3 of From. And of course, we are going to be covering each and every one of them right here on the channel. So definitely come back and hang out with us. Now that From is getting closer and closer, I am going to try and make the Fromville streams a little bit more frequent. As of right now, we've usually been going either Tuesday and Wednesday and Saturday every week. So I'll definitely keep that schedule going, but we have recently started to bring back our Fromville Friday streams. We did our first Fromville Friday stream back yesterday, actually, and it was a ton of fun. I definitely miss doing the Fromville Friday shows, so we'll definitely be bringing some of those back as well. And we are just going to be going pedal to the metal, full steam ahead, diving into all things from season 3 as we wait for September 22nd to get here. And of course, tomorrow night, not here on the channel, but tomorrow night live in the Discord, we will be starting our season 2 rewatch party of From. We're going to start with episode 1 and 2 tomorrow night, and every Sunday following, we'll watch 2 episodes a week, and that'll perfectly lead us right into season 3 of From. So if you guys want to come and hang out with us tomorrow night into the Discord, we will be doing, again, our live watch party, starting our rewatch for season 2. So hop on into the Discord. Everybody is welcome. We love having you guys in there. The Discord has turned into, again, one of the biggest hubs in the entire internet of concentrated From fan theories. It's got one of the most extensive lists of fan theories and fan conversations that I've seen in the entire fandom. And that is 100% thanks to each and every one of you in the chat and every one of you that has made that Discord what it is today. You've made it so welcoming, and it really is becoming an awesome kind of hub for From fans to discuss From theories. So I cannot thank each and every one of you enough. You guys have made that Discord freaking epic, and we will continue to be utilizing it as we lead up to From Season 3. Again, every Sunday night we will be doing our live watch parties directly in the Discord, and we'll be discussing the episodes afterwards as well in the voice chat. So if you want to come and hang out with us, everybody is welcome. We will be diving into Season 2, Episode 1 tomorrow night in the Discord, 9 p.m. Eastern. So definitely come out and hang out with us. And of course, I will also be live Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern as well, as we continue our Fromville Hour shows in the wait for Season 3. So again, big thank you to each and every one of you. I hope everyone is having a great start to their weekend. I hope everybody enjoys their Sunday tomorrow or their Monday, depending on what part of the world you are tuning in from, whether it's day, whether it's night. Hope you are having a great evening or a great day or a great morning, wherever you are. But as always, stay safe out there, ladies and gentlemen, in this crazy, crazy world that we find ourselves in. Be kind to one another, and as always, keep those tinfoil hats on, folks, and I will see you on the next one.